And welcome everyone to another OSR Tabletop with myself, GM Bloodworth. And as you see by the topic today, I am going to be talking about OSR games, independent games, and how they are both growing and gaining visibility within the broader tabletop role-playing hobby. So I will give some shout outs to the people that are early on in here. So, Chthonic Musings, welcome. And my ear trumpet, as always, thank you so much for your almost limitless generosity with all the channels that you run to and everything. You're always dropping a membership or whatnot, and it really is appreciative. I am, happy to continue providing you the content that you're looking to watch as well. So, and your free gift went to um, Daryl Aret. Daryl Aret. I hope I pronounced that right. So congratulations, and that of course comes with perks as a channel member. You gain access to my Discord as a member, and you're able to participate in any game slots that I have open, which I will be talking about in the next few minutes as well, or certainly by closing. I'll be talking about how you can join the Discord, how you can follow this channel over on X, as well as here on YouTube. You can certainly subscribe and hit, do all of the, subscribe, like, share, all of that stuff, which is greatly appreciated. So I'm struggling a little tonight with talking. I am going to have I need a wisdom tooth pulled, and that'll be on Tuesday, early afternoon. Probably take me out for a couple of days. From what I understand, most people have their wisdom teeth pulled. They don't arrive until like age 17 to 25. And then most people have them removed, and they have like all four of them removed. Um, you know, Not much thereafter. And for some reason, at 58 years old, I still have all four of my wisdom teeth, and this one is really hurting pretty bad. So I am nicely drugged up, and every once in a while, I will take a shot of rum and just let it soak around that tooth, and hopefully I can get to Tuesday and have it just pulled. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to work, and I'm absolutely not going to run my Tuesday night game, which I wasn't going to because of a Christmas party for my job, but I probably won't even make that as well. So anyhow, let's go. Sounds distant and tinny, so let me move my mic a little bit closer and let me know if that has fixed it. Um, Otherwise, let's see where the communications is. Nope, that's the wrong communications. So let's get this to that there. So that should have corrected it. And the best way for me to fix that is to unplug that camera. So that camera I had plugged in there. Let me know if you can hear me better now. So that should have fixed it. But thank you for letting me know. Hey, how's it going? Swords and Stones. Good to see you as well. And yeah, give me a thumbs up on the sound if that has improved the sound. But anyway, much better. Yeah. So every once in a while, I forget when a second camera is hooked up and it wants to pick up that mic for whatever reason. I don't know why it automatically offsets. So apologize for that. So what am I talking about? So I will be talking about tonight, and soon you'll be welcome to join in. I've seen a couple videos here and there of people trying to, first of all, some will say, "Oh, D&D is dead," and um,
5.5 edition hasn't, sparked anyone's interest, and D&D is on the decline. I've watched others, come out and say, oh, the OSR is not growing, it's not, gaining momentum. It's on the decline, and back and forth. And I am going to basically debunk that second assertion, because all I hear, and I'm not just in my own little bubble here either. I'm hearing a lot of interest in the OSR and independent games, and just from what I'm seeing being projected to be run at upcoming conventions, that is something that is clearly on the rise. And I'm going to go through a set of my own and talk about them. But others, just hearing buzz about them, I think is more important than even overall sales, to be honest with you, because people buy games and then they just sit on their shelves. I mean, there's games on my shelf that I've never run and probably never will run. All right. I have them because I was interested to see if they contribute anything new to the hobby. And in some cases, I've picked up things that I was like, it really is it's a dead game. It's not something that I would personally run at all. But it has sales numbers, right? And if there's buzz around something, eventually it's going to start showing up on people's tables, and that's the real thing, is that if people are running it, then people are going to start to see it more and more, and it's going to continue to grow. And to say that certain game systems, have flopped is just bizarre to me. Because I see them at conventions. I hear people talking about running campaigns, and if you're not tied into more than just 2, 3, even 5 YouTube channels, or following on, whether it's Facebook or on X or whatever, if you're tied into just a handful of channels, then you're not going to be aware. But I'm literally tied into hundreds of channels, and hundreds of channels are bringing up some of these same game systems, and they continue to focus on them, and there is obvious growth. So anyway, let me get to some of your comments as well. I see that there's still some welcomes. So, hey, Mike, how's it going? And here we have, man, no matter what others say and what the retail numbers say, D&D, in whatever form or fashion you play, is strong and continuing to grow no matter the version. OSR Indie like me, or D&D 6.0, which there's rumors for D&D 6.0 coming very soon, right? So, there's rumors about that. There's talk about, on YouTube channels that are bigger than mine, talking about, hey, look at some of these trends, and look at some of these, the writing is on the wall that, they're desperate. WotC is desperate for D&D to make the money that it was supposed to make by 2027. That was a date that was put out by Wizards of the Coast, by Hasbro, several years ago, that the deadline of 2027 is coming up, where Wizards of the Coast, on its D&D line alone, was supposed to be making $1 billion a year. All right, it is not even at a third of that, and even with its best years, it never even reached half of that number. So again, this isn't going to be, a live stream about bashing, 5e or 5.5, or, bashing the idea that a new one might be coming along. This is really to talk about the OSR and independent gaming, and to talk about those game systems that seem to be gaining momentum. All right. And so that's what I want to focus on. And I will be opening up the channel for people to come in if they want to talk about the game systems that they're currently running, and what they're seeing at conventions. Because I make it to about 4 or 5 smaller conventions. There are no really large conventions in my schedule, even through 2026. So if you've gone to a big convention, let us know what kind of games you saw being run there, and I can guarantee you that if you remove organized play, all right, so you remove you remove the organized play for D&D 5e, and you remove the organized play from Pathfinder, and you look at just the standard tables, or you look at new organized play that is starting to sprout up, I think that you're going to see a real difference in those numbers moving forward. So anyway, let's get to some others. I may not play GURPS, but the source books have a lot of inspirational material. Yes, and that's a lot that's on, that's a lot that's on my shelf as well. There are game systems like on my shelf. There's a lot of games that I did play back in the 80s, and so I wanted them back on my shelf, because they have that. I remember playing that. I really enjoyed it. Will I ever run it again? Probably not. And there's a few that I can point to, like Twilight 2000, the first edition. I absolutely love that game. Played it extensively when it first came out, and have it back on my shelf again, 40 years later. And would I love to play it? Absolutely. Have I played it in recent history? One game master was running it as a play-by-post, which was not my favorite way of playing it. Certainly, I really didn't like play-by-post at all, to be honest with you. And so, but I have played it within the last, 7 or 8 years. I can say the same thing for Villains and Vigilantes. Second edition was the one that I was introduced to back in the 80s. I can say the same thing for Pirates and Plunder, which was a horrible game back then, and it's still a bad game today. But it was one that I wanted to have back on my shelf again, because it was, it was just a memory of mine. It was, wanted to have that on my shelf as being an example of a game that was severely lacking back then. And but we could still laugh about it, as we got older and we started looking. I was like, wow, this game is really crap. But I love having it on my shelf for that purpose, just to be reminiscent of the time that we played it as teenagers. And there were some elements of it that were still good, but there was a lot of parts of it that just were not complete for a game that was meant to be built around piracy, and there's no real ship-to-ship combat, which is kind of bizarre. And of course, Wizards of the Coast made that same mistake with some of their more recent, attempts at reviving old themes without putting ship-to-ship combat in it in particular. So anyway, let's go. Yep, a lot more channels doing non-D&D videos lately, especially since Daggerheart changed the zeitgeist. Yes, and and Daggerheart is starting to, they're getting ready to launch another Kickstarter, another installment or expansion of the rules and everything. And, I still think that they made a terrible mistake of not running Critical Role season, whatever they're in, season 4, as under their old system. I think that it really did harm the credibility of their own game system. I certainly wouldn't touch it. Beyond having bought the starters, the first set of it, but I wouldn't get anything else additionally for it because I don't see that Critical Role themselves put any real credence to it. So anyway, let me get to some more. Shadow Dark has definitely momentum in the past year, but the systems like Nimble and the Land of Eam, Valiant, are seemingly taking some of the limelight from D&D itself that I can see lately. Yes, and once Shadow Dark's expansion, it's Western Marches expansion, the second Kickstarter starts hitting in our hands, we're all going to be talking about that, left and right. I mean, so excited about getting it and, just talking about it. It's releasing a whole bunch of other, 3 more Cursed Scrolls and just an expansion of systematic expansion of it as well. So, and that's why I have it here. I mean, Shadow Dark here is, it exploded. It was all over the place last year at conventions, and that is only growing now. I am going to a convention in April where the convention organizer asked me if I would run a game session for Shadow Dark as part of that convention's organized play for Shadow Dark. So I was like, absolutely, I would love to. And I'm running 2 other sessions of Shadow Dark, my own adventures in those, as well as I am also running Fallout. So a nice throw out there of an independent game that has no connection to D&D in any way. And yet it's a great system, and it's a system that I've seen at I've run it at conventions, but I'm sure it's been run at conventions prior to me doing it as well. So inspirational material, yeah, I feel the exact same way about Warhammer Old World. Yeah, it's Warhammer was something I passed on back in the 80s, and although I love the book, like just the art and everything like that, it was too much of a miniatures war game in that first edition, and that just wasn't our thing. Dolmenwood is exploding, and that is seems like an excellent game with a setting that D&D 5e would largely enjoy. Yeah, the players of that would largely enjoy it, and I've seen recent videos just talking about Dolmenwood and talking about the strengths of Dolmenwood, and the fact that you can take just that setting piece and actually run the game based on just that material as well, even though it's largely connected with OSC, unless I'm incorrect. But Dolmenwood is something that I might actually pick up. But I was watching some recent reviews of it, and I was like, wow, that is just an incredible way of releasing a source book that really does all the things that Dolmenwood does, from different types of maps, and the same map presented in 3 different ways, and each one it just unbelievable what that's done. And like I said, it's probably something that I eventually get around to picking up, but we'll see. We'll see what it goes there. There's a limit to how much I will, I can get, and put on my shelf, but that might be something I definitely go into. Let me get the invite out there. And so anyone is welcome to join in. And there we go. So invite is out. So I mentioned Shadow Dark already. Next up, I just got my hard copies of Old School Essentials. So and this is coming out with a new edition or just a revision sometime next year. And I'll probably just get the PDFs of that and still, really start to look to run this in some, one shots and that kind of a thing. But so many people talk about this, and I've had the PDF since 2021 and just never got around to. I played it maybe twice during that time frame, but I've never run it, and I definitely want to. I definitely want to give it a shot and actually run it. There are some things here, and I just started doing an in-depth review of it now that I have the physicals. But that is something else that is coming up. And OSE is everywhere. You can see that on channels. You can see that in people's discussions on Facebook or in X, and it is just an amazing. It's an amazing system, an amazing layout. If you watch my video from earlier today, as I'm just going through it and just talking about, the layout genius of this, which I kept on bringing up, is the fact that the content on every single page is contained within that one page. There is no overflow to the next page. Every page is intact. It is a complete source of information and no crossover. That, from what I am told by games publishers that do formatting, so these are the individuals that work for the gaming publishers, and they actually do the layout, and they say that is an incredibly hard task to do, and they do it here page after page after page, no matter what the content, and that is just a phenomenal thing to see. So probably one of the best examples of just brilliant layout. And again, it's not easy to do because you have to sometimes drop pictures in there, artwork in there, and then shape that artwork or place that artwork in a certain way so that you don't push content bleeding from one page over into the next. Unbelievable how great that was. So OSE is still in the top, I'd say in the top two OSR publications that is out there. I wouldn't be able to put a finger on which one is better than it, or is it tied for first with another. That's really subjective, and everyone's own personal likings are going to come into play there. Yet I would absolutely agree with you, Ducato. OSE is the gold standard of layout. I've never seen anything as just so tight as that is done. So really like it. I mean, even through the monster descriptions and spell descriptions and everything is contained on one page. And without dead space, so they did manage to throw in art where, very strategically. So off to Shadow's game. Enjoy, poor Arcchild. Yeah, Shadow's game. I thought Shadow's game started at 9. All right. Well, say hello to Shadow and Sun for me, and we will be meeting sometime a little bit later in the week. So let's see. Hey, Doc, how's it going? Good to see you. Grift GRLT is laid out very well also. GRLT. Not sure what that abbreviation is for. Grit Is it just called Grit? I'm not familiar with that, so I'll have to check that out. Oh, it's 4:30 avocado time. All right, so it's a 4:30 game for him. All right. Yes. So, yep, out in California. So I think there's one more time zone in California that hits the like 4 hour difference from me. So GRIT. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Or maybe I'm just not no, so GRIT RPG. Let's see. Grit Fantasy RPG from Gnomebot Studio. I'm not familiar with it. I'll definitely check it out. I will definitely check that out. Let's see. Let's see. It is on drive-through for the soft cover color book. It is $18.99. For the soft cover with PDF is $18.99. I like that. The hardcover is just $25.99. That's not bad either. It's a silver bestseller, and a single D12 is used as a primary die. Nice. Yeah. D12 systems are kind of making their way around the circuits as well. I mean, obviously, I just drew a blank. Obviously, Daggerheart uses a D12 system as well. So yeah, I've been seeing some D12 systems pop up now. Anything to break away a little bit from the D20 system is actually probably welcomed as well. So tis very cool and very rules light. Love the beasties. Cool. I will certainly take a look at it. Right after we get past the holidays, a little recovery time, then I will most likely give it a real close look. Yeah, so looking at it, I can see that there are two types of rolls: static and opposed. Static rolls must beat one of the 4 target numbers selected by the GM. An opposed roll must beat the roll of the adversary. Characters have 5 stats called aspects. All right. Each player has 3 focus dice that are used to boost rolls. Combat does not follow a rigid initiative structure. During combat, each participant gets to take one action and or reaction. The combination makes combat move quickly. Damage is calculated by determining the difference between a roll and a target number, static, or an opponent's roll, opposed. Armor and shield simply reduce incoming damage by the total amount of soak. All right, I'm very familiar with that from Conan 2D20. There are 3 distances in the game: melee, short, and long. All right, cool. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it has some interesting stuff. Dragonbane is another one that I see mentioned a lot lately. Yes, and Dragonbane, I got to play it once so far. It's not D&D based, but it has old school feel. Yes, and it's, again, I think it's a strength that it's not a D&D based, both system and just thematically, it's not D&D based. And that's definitely something that I like. People are realizing that swinging nature of the terrible, terrible D20. Yeah, it's a, plus I think it's also where we're growing kind of, in a spot where it's like, I like to see different things. That's why I like Savage Worlds, and you have different die that you're using. I like systems that are built around just one die, just to be like, all right, all I need is D12s for this, or D6s, or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of percentile die, as being the total system is based on percentages, but otherwise, I mean, D20 is just so familiar for everybody that it's like it's easy to play, but it's not always the best, depending on what system you're actually looking to run. So yeah, Dragonbane was certainly on my list, Decado, as my next, and then Dragon Slayer took that over, right? So I have here Dragon Slayer, and I'm hearing more and more about Dragon Slayer as well. And this is starting to get some traction out there amongst, not just fellow OSR YouTubers, but I'm hearing more people say, "Hey, I've played this system now," and I say myself included, where I am preparing to run this system in about 2 weeks' time, and really looking forward to running it, and it's been remarkably easy for me to start to create smaller adventures and even conceptualize a campaign that is really going to tie itself to the game system that is Dragon Slayer. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm starting to hear more and more people that have experience playing this or running this talk about it. So again, that visibility I think is super important, and hopefully when we go to conventions, we will start seeing people running this. So that's something that I think is much needed, and I'm hoping that Greg Gillespie comes out with a referee screen for it, because that's a great way to display it out there on a table for passersby to see. I mean, it already has the inserts. I guess you could craft a referee screen, because there are referees inserts, for it. But I'd like a physical copy of it to have on the table for people to see. Hey, this is what he's running at the table. Let's see. The ones taking time to design D12 games, as mentioned. Yes, they do take time to design. It is a strong contender for the system I use for my next campaign. Dragon Slayer, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well. D100 is my fave. I love it when players know the exact percentage chance they have at success on a check. Yeah, I mean, when I go back to it and I look at like early Star Frontiers, before Zebulon's Guide, where they actually broke it down to, you had a much higher rate of hitting criticals under a certain level, and then as it expanded, I mean, I like that chart and everything. It was the same one that was used with Marvel, TSR's Marvel, yeah, it wasn't so much of an issue there. There's just something about the D100 system that I'm not too crazy about. There's a very little chance of succeeding when you're low level, like first or second level, and you have like less than a 20% chance of accomplishing certain things. It's like, well, you're just not going to try them, as often in that case. I don't know. It's just a preference for other dice mechanics than the D100 I have. Players are usually more competent from the start, and characters are usually more competent. Far less of a comedy of errors. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I recall that in some of the systems, like I said, like a 20% or 25% was like an average number that you would have in Star Frontiers, let's say in one of your, stats there, I mean, you can snatch 5 from one to give to the other and bring it up to 20 and 30 or whatnot. But yeah, a 20% chance is not a great chance to do something, or even a 25% chance is not a great chance of doing something that is incredibly necessary to do in Star Frontiers. It's like you fail the attempt. It's not like you can retry. In that, and so you had such reliance on having a crew that had all of the necessary skills to operate, that if you're a computer tech person failed the computer check, there was nobody else could do that, and so it became, now I have to come up with another way around this situation, and there might not be a way around it. I've run Star Frontiers quite a bit, and it's like it's a tough system to use, especially if you don't have all of the skill sets required to build a full adventure, where it's going to test everybody in their respective fields. But anyway, let's get back on topic with the OSR and independent games, and the more we're seeing of them. That's fair, but the tabletop RPG world has always had people tinker and change things. Yes, absolutely. There's several games on the digital bookshelf that are testament to that, but there's a niche and a niche hobby. Yes, this is absolutely a niche hobby, but it can get a better portion of the pie. And that's what I'm really talking about. Mothership accepted. The starting percent chance were not high, but in a sense, the failures drove the game's tension. All right. For sure, I've admitted openly that D&D isn't in my top 5 for RPGs. I started with other systems. I'm glad for that niche. Yeah, it's now I started with D&D, but I quickly my gaming group quickly played all other kinds of stuff at the same time. We literally played for that 8-year span of time, and some of us lasted about 10 years. We literally played 15 to 20 different game systems all throughout the 1980s, basically. And every kind of genre, every kind of dice mechanic that was involved in there. I mean, it was just system after system, and many of them we played for quite some time, and that was playing it weekly, for all of those years as well. We used to play like 6 days a week, every day after school. We would log in 3 or 4 hours, a day. And then on the weekends, we played all day Saturday. It was, and then Sundays was for, outside, outside time, playing outside or doing outside chores and stuff like that. But, yeah, we used to get in as much time as we could, gaming and just hitting different systems. That's what I hope for, is to see indie games take much bigger piece of the pie. There are so many awesome games out there. Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I'm going to put the link up again if anyone wants to join in and talk directly about any of their own experiences with some of these other ones. So, like I said, Dragon Slayer is certainly on my radar, and I'm going to be running that in about 2 weeks' time. So, looking forward to that. And by the way, that group is full. All right, so I have between 6 and 7 players for that group. Next one, Hyperborea Third Edition. So I just started running a home campaign of this, and we had our second gaming session this past Thursday, and it was phenomenal. We had a great time with it. Um, it was a nice mix of combat and exploration. In other words, learning about the situation that the player characters were in, and role playing as well, social interaction, not only between the players but also between the player characters and some NPCs that will potentially be ongoing, reoccurring NPCs that they're dealing with in the future. So it was a great session. Only 2 of my 3 players showed up, but we still managed to run it fairly well. And yeah, my Thursday evening games, usually between 8 o'clock Eastern time, there's still openings for people in there. So yeah, definitely a place to check out if you're looking for a game to play in. That's my online game. So in the 80s, it was all about the new games coming out because the hobby was new and fresh. Genres getting covered was exciting. Yes. That's Conan, right? Is this system D&D based? Conan, well, there's several Conans. You had the Conan TRS's Conan. You had, and that was a percentile based game. And then you had Mongoose. Then came out with Conan, and then Modifius came out with Conan, and now there's a new Conan system that's out there again. Conan's IP keeps on changing hands for its role-playing games, but I absolutely love the 2D20 system for Conan. Modifius had, in my opinion, the best Conan game RPG iteration that I've come across. Dragon Slayer is fun. Some of us prefer it over OSE. Hyperborea, very, very well done system, and the setting is awesome. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes settings actually outshine the game system that's built, that has been attached to them. Hyperborea is like a perfect melding of both game system and setting, where I think it's hard to separate the two. I don't think that Hyperborea's game system would work as well in a different setting. It works perfectly with this, and I don't think other game systems would work as well with Hyperborea's setting as well. They won't be lethal or gritty enough to fit that game world. So we have, I welcome everyone. If I haven't shouted out, I welcome to you. Hyperborea, Basic Fantasy, and Whitebox. Oh my, yeah. They're all great systems. And, some of them are perfect for entry level into the system. I mean, I've never heard anything bad about Basic Fantasy. All right. From not just from its price structure, but just from its simplicity and availability, you could jump right into it. AD&D Conan, then TSR D100. Yes. Yeah, that's true. AD&D, there was an AD&D Conan, just 2 modules as far as I know. And Gangbusters, now that Mark is here, Gangbusters is another game that I am running that I run on Thursday mornings, and we are into our 7th week of running that since I got my copy of Gangbusters, and that's certainly something that I should be showing off here. So here is the newest edition of Gangbusters BX, and this is the I call this the Expert Rules Edition, and that came along with the Hustler's Guide to Rock Junction, which is the setting booklet with it. And I'm actually, so again, here you have a different genre, and yet it is still very much old school. All right, you're going back to Gangbusters, so TSR's Gangbusters, and taking a more modern interpretation of it, a modern layout, some modern game mechanics involved with it as well. And it's an incredible thing, and a great system. So if you can get your hands on that, that is a lot of fun. And there's different ways that you can play it. You can go from it from the law enforcement side, or as I'm running in my campaign, they're trying to form an organized crime group and working along those lines as well. So and I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you, Mark, because I have some ideas about something that I'd like to run by you and see if maybe we can work together on something that I'm messing around with. Beck me for the win. Yes. So that's basic, expert, companion, master, and immortals. I've seen a lot of people asking for more immortals play, which is really an interesting thing. And I'm seeing more and more people asking for that. But especially like Shadow and Sun is always asking for immortal play. Pendragon, yes, Pendragon is a good example of a system that works brilliantly for its setting, but would be very wonky as a generic system. Yes. Pendragon is the greatest of all time. I don't know if I actually played that back in the day. I'm not even sure if I have it either. So I know I have RuneQuest, the latest box set of RuneQuest. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
So just going through the list of things, and I'm like I was mentioning too. That's Gangbusters. So as I was mentioning, I have a few ideas that I think just based on what we're experiencing running it, that there's some things I want to introduce to it. Prince Valiant is nice also. I'm not familiar with that one, unless you mean what is it? It's not.
I think Chaos.
The Valiant.
No, not Tales of the Valiant.
Not Tales for the Valiant. Yeah, Prince Valiant.
Prince Valiant. That's an old one. Yeah, Chaosium, I think. Funded a reprint of it. It's like a D2 system or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You
see that?
Coins.
That's something that would really catch my interest, is something that just uses a totally different mechanic. Yeah. And you're only going to see that in OSR and independent games. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see that from your mainstream game systems. Right. Hasbro or WotC, whomever is doing that, or Paizo, is never going to come out with a game system that is a dramatic break from their core IP that they have. You know what I'm saying? It's just that they're not going to take that risk, or they just don't have the wherewithal to build it. It's just like they don't have the people that are experienced enough as game designers to actually break outside of the tried and true, and so, I think it's an awesome thing to see how many, OSR and independent publishers are out there and just experimenting with new stuff, and I've seen plenty of people make the comment, and I think it's the most, just the wrong comment, I think, is that, oh, there's too much of it, there's a glut of it or whatever. It's like,
don't buy it.
Yeah, don't buy it. Exactly. No one's saying, no one's holding a gun to your head to buy it. It's like, you don't have to buy everything. I mean, I've spoken numerous times how, during their early Kickstarters, it's like, yeah, I just didn't have the money at the time, or, whatever, and I didn't get it then. But if I get it a couple years later, I mean, I waited 4 years to start talking about OSE, even though it's like, everyone has it out there and everything. A lot of people are talking about it. It took me 4 years to get around to doing it.
I forgot on which stream it was, but I think it was probably on James's stream, because he's talking about Hyperborea like crazy.
Hey, Mike.
But somebody was like, "Oh, you're talking about the new hotness," and it's like, I remember playing this 9 years ago. Like, Hyperborea isn't new. It's just, it's like because what was it? The OGL fiasco was what? Not last year. It was 2 years ago.
23.
23, yeah.
January of 23.
We're still kind of in the fallout of that, I think, where people are looking for their non-official D&D pretty much system to latch onto now that they
because the third edition of this, because this is the third edition of it.
Yeah.
And this was
2023, I think, right?
2023 or 4. Yeah. It could even be 4.
I remember there was a little bit of a slowdown because people were asking him.
Actually, it says 2022.
2022.
So,
yeah, there you go.
But that's when it was like. That's not when it released. You know what I'm saying?
No.
That's when he started working on it, and it probably came out. Like I see this one over here that Mark is mentioning. I'm going to talk about that too.
There's been a big pickup with Italian designers, especially in indie RPGs. They've been coming out with some really cool stuff.
Yeah, so like Twilight Sword, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about this. Right. I'm backing Twilight Sword. It's by Two Little Mice. They're an Italian company. Yeah, I see that all over Facebook. That is all over Facebook. So.
Oh, the Twilight Sword ad?
Yeah, Twilight Sword. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it sounds familiar, and it's like, yeah, I think they brought
there, and then there's the Japanese one, which was that's Sword World, all right, yes. Which I'm really looking to dig into that one, but I might have to take a look at the other one. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Bloodworth? I haven't used Restream before, so please bear with me if I get something wrong.
No, you're fine. Along with Beavis and Butthead behind you.
This is me and my, we're taking a lunch break at work, so I figured we'd come by.
Oh, nice. My gosh, what time is your lunch?
Oh, I'm joking. I'm actually home sick today, but I'm usually working on Sundays, so that's why I'm like working in your chat, but I don't actually get to hang out that much. So.
Oh, cool.
I've been a fan. I've been following your channel for a really long time, so it's cool to.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I know. I see you in the comment section all the time, so it's great to meet you visually, and put a face to the voice to the words. So
I know. I should have combed my hair or something first, right?
No,
first impressions are important.
I wear hats through most of the day anyway. So Two Little Mice made Memento Mori, I believe. I've heard of that game too. Yeah, but yeah, I would definitely take a look at that, Mark. Although I don't know when that is supposed to come to an end. I see that everywhere though. Twilight Sword. Let me see. Let me do a quick look. Ending soon. Oh, it's on BackerKit. So Twilight Sword is ending in 4 days. So there is 4 days left, It has raised a little over €558,000. All right, so that has to be pushing like what, like about like $600,000. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of RPGs like this now that are kind of inspired by Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. Final Fantasy is
yeah,
another big one. We play that on Fridays. My one buddy runs Fabula Ultima, which is pretty much like a Final Fantasy Tactics tabletop kind of RPG.
yeah. So let's
Buy
see
a
the
bunch of Italian.
pledge levels on here. The only thing that scares me is that the shipping might be crazy.
That's why whenever, is it a dollar sign or something else? If it's something else,
No, it's a euro.
I'll wait for it to.
Well, if it's
I'll
coming from
see it
Italy,
somewhere.
then the shipping might be egregious.
Yes.
So even though I don't even think there's much of a tariff on it, it's just that the shipping might be crazy.
Right.
4,000 backers, yes. Ends in 4 days.
If it's that big, they're gonna have somebody over here to distribute it.
Yeah. So for $85, that's about $98. So like €85. So it's almost $100, and you're getting the core rule book and the Lands of Radia in hardcover. Both include digital as well. So you get both books for about $100, which is on par, right? It's about $50 a hardback anywhere you go. They have some starter sets that are fairly cheap, actually, about $46 for a starter set. So a box set, and that's dice included, starter set and PDF, champion tokens. So that looks pretty cool. I might take a look at it. I'll see. Only 4 days left. But it's on backer kit, so you can spread it out over 4 payments, which absolutely love that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, you know what? Believe it or not, that is marketing brilliance. It really is, because it's a much easier thing to stack those things up, you know. And then my wife was like, "Hey, what's this $86 coming out every 2 weeks?" So I was like, "Well, that's 4 different things at the same time." It's like, it'll eventually stop. Don't worry, you know. But yeah, it definitely makes it a lot easier. I think Free League is involved with Twilight Sword as well, distributor maybe. Well, that would be cool, because then they'll have U.S. distribution.
Yeah, I can see that. They do that with a bunch. They just did one of those with one of the Morkborg type of games. Flintlock and Brimstone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not one of their games. They're just distributing it. So, yeah. They're big enough now. They're one of kind of like the medium publishers. So, yeah, they can kind of distribute.
So about the main topic about indie games, I mean, I think I'm just trying to think back even just over the last 10 years or so. And there's always a big part of the debate about Dungeons and Dragons is there going to be a game that unsettles it, you know, or pushes it out of the way, or somehow takes the second spot, or becomes a real alternative to the WotC Hasbro corporate game. And I'm just thinking back to when 5th edition first came out. I mean, I know we all bomb on 5th edition, and it's for good reason, but I mean, 5th edition is what got me back into tabletop role-playing games. So before that, I grew up playing. I started with 3rd edition, and I played a lot of Shadowrun as a kid, which I still. I love this. Anyway, that's a long story. That's like, I got some baggage with that. I love the setting. I hate the system. I grew up in Western Washington, so it was, as a kid, it was amazing to have this cyberpunk setting, like right here, right? But long story short, when 5th edition came out, I mean, I unless I'm misremembering, I mean, I remember people just being like really excited, because 4th edition was considered to be such of a low point. And it brought me back into fantasy role playing again. I had been playing other games like horror games and stuff, things I still love, But I was like, yeah, like it feels good to play D&D again. So it kind of brought a lot of people home. But you know that 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 honeymoon was very short lived. I mean, I don't really know when the point was when things kind of unraveled.
I'll
But
tell you what it was.
what was
It
it?
was
Tasha's?
Tasha's.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, I was gonna
Tasha's.
think of that. Some people say
That,
COVID is like when things
no,
went
no,
off the
nope.
rails.
Tasha's was the end of 5e being D&D.
Right.
All right. Tasha's the the concept of the game. It upset the essential rules mechanics that Gary Gygax put into the game. You know, it defied everything that D&D as a game system was built around. You know, and you know, as much like it just introduced a blandness to it that, and you know, just like I know, as like the RPG Pundit will say, like everyone's playing a great glob of goo, and you just slap a skin on it, you know, and it's a meaningless skin on it, you know. So once you have a halfling character that can have all of the traits of a Goliath, you know, is you know, or a dwarf has all of the character trait or racial traits of an elf. You know, once you can mix and match and swap things out like that, I've never heard of a game system where players are taking one level in this, two levels in that, another level in this, and just never ending multi-classing. And you know, it's like, no, just to get all of these little perks and everything like that. It's like, you know, even MMOs don't let you build characters like that. So what, you know, you can't even point to, you know, computer gaming and say, oh, well, they're getting that, like 4th edition was built around World of Warcraft. But you couldn't do all that shit in World of Warcraft either. You were locked in to a character class in World of Warcraft. So where did they get this idea that, hey, you can take all of these different, you know, things and slap it together and that's your character? It just, that began with Tasha's. It was all downhill from there. Now, Tasha's was released in what, 2019. And so the only thing that saved their asses was COVID, you know, because Tasha's on its own was going to destroy it. All right. It was only because of COVID that they saved their asses, and and as soon as COVID was over, they started seeing that rapid decline. All right. And, you know, to the point now that they might, getting back to your, you know, your point, Mike, they may lose the market share. I mean, last time I heard them actually giving the numbers, it was down from like 59 to 51% of the overall. I mean, it lost eight points in market share from 2023 to now. Yeah. You know, so a couple ticks away, and it's no longer above 50%.
Right. What I guess what I'm trying to say is like historically, just like in the last 10, 15 years, there's almost been this like Stockholm syndrome that people feel towards D&D. Like 5th edition came out, like people were excited. Like people were really excited. I mean, people need to think back. I know we all don't like 5th edition, but like it got me back in. I've got an old Adventures League poster on my wall from when it first came out. People were really excited. People were like, this is like great. Like this is so much better. Like people, it's like, oh, our hero has returned, like D&D. Like he's, you know, he stopped drinking. He's sober now. You know, like it was like, there was like a honeymoon and then it fell off. Right. But it's interesting because like, there's no doubt like D&D is also like, for the average person, it is role playing, you know, like it's a dual thing. We know that it's a brand and it's a style, you know,
like,
we know. It's
like Band-Aid, right? It's like Band-Aid. Yeah. Band-Aid has become the identity of the product, even though that was the brand, you know. Right. And as a matter of fact, they lost the license because popular culture
had basically stolen them from that. You know what I'm saying? Because they what was it? Johnson and Johnson tried to sue other companies for using the term Band-Aid, and it became forget what the it became public domain just by misuse of of it. Same thing happened with Xerox. People didn't say, "Oh, make me a photocopy of anything." They make me a Xerox copy of something.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, so we have like the center of gravity is D&D, right? It's WotC D&D, corporate D&D.
Yeah.
And then, when they screw up really bad, everybody tends to go somewhere else for a minute. Before 5th edition, it was Pathfinder. That was that was your alternative. I don't think it was much of an alternative. That's a whole other different discussion. But I think we're going to be entering into another period now where they've squandered. I mean, they've really pissed people off more ever than they ever have before. So now we're having different indie games from the ecosystem. I think Shadow Dark is number 2 right now. I don't really know what Paizo's doing, but Shadow Dark seems to be the alternative game. So I'm kind of wondering, this is just like this rubber band effect. I mean, almost just like the political situation that we're in. Everybody just keeps getting pulled back in. They go back and they go forth and they go back and forth. And I think all this talk about a 6th edition being more old school, it's that's what they're ceding. They're losing all kinds of ground to the OSR or to alternate indie games. So I'm just wondering if we're just going through another contraction, and if they come out with a 6th edition, then that's going to be taking a lot of the wind out of the sails of, and I'm on board with the indie games, by the way, 110%. I think a big part of this whole D&D is role playing, a bandage is a band-aid. One of the positives of that is everyone's hey, I really want to learn I want to play D&D. I want to learn how to play. You can bust out your Limitations book or okay, let's play some D&D.
Yeah.
Or your Shadow Dark. It's too far away. I can't reach for it. All right, we're going to play some D&D. This is what D&D is to me. It's like fantasy role playing. This is what it is. When I've run it for my friends, they say, "Oh yeah, let's play D&D." I'm like, "Okay, we're going to play Shadow Dark. It is D&D."
Yeah. You can.
But that's just so I'm 100% on. I'm on the team with the indie guys, and I think that's great. But just looking back at this short period, maybe even over the last 20 years, it just seems like there's that center of gravity does seem to keep pulling people back in. I would hope that the last 10, just with all the political stuff, the awful things that WotC has done to piss all over their legacy supporters. I would hope that would be a never again, with the OGL and everything else. But I mean, I don't know. People are just seduced by this brand name. It's that's why I said it feels like Stockholm syndrome. It's if only it's my lover is such of a good person. If only they would stop drinking.
Yeah, the question was, would they ever sell it? And if it's not making money, Hasbro won't sell it unless somebody came with a ridiculous, a ridiculous amount. I would say that they would
offer a lot more than what it's worth, which is
I mean, if D&D is making about $300 million a year, that's under its own label. The D&D logo is making $300 million a year. Then I mean, I use real estate, property values and things like that. If you have a business, or you have a rental property, it's always to sell it. It's 10 times, 10 years worth of revenue generated is what you look to sell it for. So $3 billion would probably be enough for them to let go of the IP. All right. That is 10 times what it's generating in a year, and I doubt they're even at the 300 million. The last time they hit 300 million was when they added 90 million from Baldur's Gate 3. All right. Baldur's Gate 3 easily was 60% of their revenue from that particular, 2024. That was their 2024 revenue stream. And that was a one and done. Once it released, that was an initial payout and then done. All right, and they're not going to get another gaming company to sign up with them.
No.
because they immediately shit on that relationship. You know, Larian Studios was like, all right, we're done. You know what I'm saying?
Which is crazy because Larian did the Divinity series, and it's like, wow, this is a great fantasy RPG game. And it was like,
Yep.
oh, okay, they did Baldur's Gate 3 and blew it out of the park, and then they immediately were like, yeah, we don't want to work with you guys anymore, even though you made us loads of money,
Yeah.
like a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, because they don't have great relationships with anyone that can outshine them. You know, they did the same thing with Cryptid when Cryptic worked with Sword Coast Legends. Sword Coast Legends was designed, and it was a good system. It had a lot of potential. It had more potential than Wizards of the Coast had, you know, and that was the problem with it. And it was meant to drive the sales of Descent into Avernus. All right, the hardcover book, the Adventure Path, basically. And as soon as the book released and nobody bought it, they abandoned the game system, even though the game system had so much potential to it, and it was the VTT they were looking to create. All right, because you could DM that, and you can create the own dungeons and everything like that. It had all of the 5e mechanics built into it, and they abandoned it. All right. As soon as the book didn't sell, they were like, all right, this is done. We're going to just dump the whole thing. You know, and, you know, again, it goes to show you that any kind of innovation you're going to see come out of the OSR and independent game systems. And that's the place to go to if you're looking for some, you know, clear blanks, like you mentioned earlier, Paul. You know, a game system that has a D2 system as its core system, you're not going to see that coming from a mainstream corporation. You know, I know Mike was saying corporate D&D. We never used that term before. You know, I'm saying that's a very, very new term that I'm hearing more and more often now. It's like, well, that's corporate D&D. All right. That's meant as I don't know if you meant it as a slight, Mike, but, you know, that should be.
Yeah, it's, if I say corporate, it's usually a slight. Yeah. But,
it's like,
yeah.
It means that it is disconnected from game players. You know what I'm saying? That's what it means. It's disconnected. And they are absolutely disconnected from.
And it has contrary goals
right.
to, you know, like it's not interested in the things that you think it is. And
yeah.
Right. I mean, so I don't know if that. I hope that's in keeping with your topic, because I don't want to go off on tangents or anything. I'm not necessarily trying to have some big speculation about what a new edition is going to be like, but I feel like there's spaces that open when corporate D&D really screws up. And that's when like independent games, alternatives to it, can fill the void. And I'm really hoping that they can plant their flag in the ground and say, this is like the alternative to this corporate behemoth. Like, we're not going to like spit on you for being a legacy player. We're going to do, you know, I hope there's a real alternative that focuses. And if it's Shadowdark or some other game, that's fine. But I just hope the center of gravity gets broken up, because this is just, it just never ends, you know.
Hey, Mirador, how's it going? You know, the other thing is that, you know, he mentions the crown, and, you know, no one seems to want to take the crown, even though they're probably positioned to do so, almost because they'd rather be the underdog. You know, they'd rather have the cushion of not having the crown. And so, I mean, if Darrington Press, if Critical Role wanted the crown, they had it. Yeah. They had it within their reach. When Daggerheart first came out, they could have said, hey, this is a D&D killer. We're designing this to be a D&D killer. We're severing all connection to Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. We're doing our own thing. We want you to come over here and follow.
That's a good point.
They would have had it.
Yeah. In popular culture, they definitely would have.
They would have crushed it. All right. But they don't want the crown. You know? They don't want that. They had it in their hands. I mean, I don't think Kelsey Dion was positioned enough as much as Shadow Dark was a darling of the OSR and came timing wise, it was perfectly timed to be released just after the OGL. She didn't have the $20 million a year that Critical Role had backing it, and it's probably even higher than that now. And so she certainly didn't want to take the crown either. But yeah, that crown thing is not something that a lot of people or a lot of companies really want to have, because they can shine. They think that they can shine better without the crown. Gives them a little bit more leeway. They could stumble once or twice along the way without really getting crucified for it, because they can see what happens when you have the crown and you make missteps. Especially when you're unapologetic with your missteps as well. You're going to get destroyed. In critiques.
You guys like this giant coffee cup I got? I feel like I'm the Dilbert guy.
Yeah.
It's like a pink princess coffee cup. I get really bright colors just in case like someone steals it at work, or if I lose it, I can find it.
There you go.
Yeah. I wouldn't give Watsy the time of day, let alone my money. Well, you know what? I mentioned on a comment on Eric Tankar's on Tankar's Tavern when he was talking about the new 6th edition. And I was like, and perhaps Gygax would be involved with it. Luke Gygax would be involved with it in some way, possibly even just a name only in some way. And I was like, they're not getting a penny from me unless they get rid of the disclaimer. The disclaimer.
I've seen your comments about that. I think that's a really good point. People forget about those.
Yeah. I was like, I think Luke forgot about it too. I was like, I would not put a penny to it for as long as they have that disclaimer and they are shitting on the legacy of the game. They're shitting on the legacy of the IP, and they're shitting on all the players and all of the consumers and all of the artists and writers and everything. Why would I give you my money? I will, I'd rather pirate the shit than actually give you a penny of my money, and that's the bottom line.
Like, disclaimer or not, I mean, people have been complaining since like 2nd edition that they've got D&D wrong. So it's like, why even worry about buying 6th, 7th, 12th edition, however far they're going to keep, milking it until it's dead.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is too, it's interesting. Yeah. Like the crown, I'm really not sure even what that means, because, I've been to Gen Con, I think, every year except for the one from COVID since 2004. And I can't remember the last time Wizards had even a presence there. And that's the largest tabletop trade show in the country. Yeah, that used to be their convention. It was like something D&D happened. They were there. They were proud of it. They were making a big seismic shift. They don't care. We just want to sell product. It is now lifestyle brand that you have. That's why it's corporate D&D, because you have people in there who are like, "What's the game about? How do we get people to play it who don't care about Dungeons or Dragons?" And now you're baking muffins and going to prom. And that's all it is. It's a lifestyle simulator. It's almost like Sims, the RPG.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, it's selling like hotcakes." And the people who still have their favorite version of D&D are crying about it. And it's like, play your favorite. You were never going to buy another D&D game anyway, unless it was scoring it or whatever.
Oops, sorry about that.
No, you're good, brother.
No, so Paul, I'm pretty isolated compared to a lot of you guys. I haven't really been to conventions or anything like that. I mostly I started playing online, or I had local friends that I played with. So like, you've been going to like Gen Con, which is like the the industry, one of the industry flagships, right? So like, what do you see in terms of indie games there?
Indie, it's a lot of stuff. Like I mentioned before, a lot of Italian developers. Like what's this company called? Need Games. Yeah, these guys, they're always there. A lot of distributors are there. Since I think who is it? Studio 2? Are those the they're like a publisher plus distributor. They're there. They're pushing a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think. Yeah, independent games, because that's the thing. Indie games, they kind of go through waves. Like you had that Powered by the Apocalypse phase, and everybody was like, it's a lot like in my thing. There are no more BX clones. Everybody had a PBTA game, and then after that, it was Shadow. What was that? Blades in the Dark came out, and that was like the new system. And then everything was,
I mean,
what was that
Morkborg
called?
was hot
Forged
for a
in the
minute.
Dark.
Yeah.
And now Morkborg is pretty much, it's like there was BX clones, then Morkborg came out, so now there's everything Borg.
OSC was really hot for a second.
Yeah, you get these waves. OSC is an interesting one. Hunter mentioned Ultra American TTRPG, or he was mentioning, I think, in Shadow's chat last night that OSC is going to do like a reprint or like a new edition in a couple of years that's going to kind of...
I believe it's next year.
Is it next year?
I think it's next year.
They're going to do the OGLing of it, where they're going to get rid of all the terms that WotC could come after them for, which is... That's going to... Like I said, we're still kind of in the shockwaves of this. It's going to be another year or two, and we're going to see what kind of falls out of it. But OSC is really in like the top 3 of the OSR systems, I think, as far as the ones people are going to play. Everybody's writing modules for it, and that's always a good sign, because that means people are playing it.
So was there like a...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. No, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm trying to accidentally not like cut off anybody because
no, you're good.
Yeah.
Was there anything like, so when you're at Origins, like this flag, first of all, it says a lot that Wizards isn't there. That would be like going to Comic-Con and Marvel wouldn't be there. Like, what the hell's going on? That's so weird. But is there anything like specific that just like keeps cropping up that you're like, wow, this indie game's really hit the pass?
You know what I'll say about conventions, and the largest convention I've been to was at Page 2. So Page this past January was about 1,800 people. All right, fairly large, especially for its second year and everything. Very, very large for a second year convention. That was, if you take out, and I said this the same thing about Gen Con, which I did not go to, but if you take out the organized play of D&D, all right, there was no one or very, very few game sessions of D&D outside of organized play.
That's it. At conventions, so it's mostly just
at conventions. So
there's no organic groups that are being. There is no
organic.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this game system beyond a handful of people in something with thousands of sessions of gameplay, and only a handful are that's my game of choice to run at a convention. It is the organized play that is propping up both D&D 5e, whatever version of it, 5e or 5.5, whatever you want to call it, Pathfinder, same thing. It is the organized play that are propping them up. If you remove them, then you would see that 80% of the games are not, game sessions being run are not the top 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's everything else.
There's always a ballroom over at Gen Con where they've got it full of Adventurers League, and Gamehole Con actually is like, they have a publishing wing that they launched because they do Adventurers League modules that they can actually publish, and it's like, I'm not sure if they get any money or support from WotC other than a guarantee that they won't sue them into the ground. It's like, that's all WotC gives them. It's like, oh, you can make that stuff and we won't destroy your lives. And it's like, thank you, Overlord. And that's really all they get. But there's hundreds of tables over there. Well, like maybe about 100 tables over there. And they publish stuff for Adventurers League and D&D over there. But as far as like, that's the thing at the big conventions, I always tell people, like, we talk about RPGs, man, but it's the small section of the hobby. Board games blow them out of the water. I go to Adepticon and those guys are walking around with like Rolexes. Like, you see some big smiles on those guys' faces because they sell miniatures hand over fist compared to RPGs. But no, like Gamehole, the interesting thing about that one was as far as the indie scene, Free League is like, that's like their big USA convention. They show up there. They have like, if a book's launching, it's there. they take up like 3 rooms full of organized play of all just free league games. So it's interesting to see that they're like a medium publisher who's really rocketed, because like I forget when Mutant Year Zero came out. It was within the past little over a decade, but now they're huge. They're all over the place. So
like 2012.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anecdotal. Like I said, I don't go to I'm planning on going to some conventions in the future, but the free league stuff, I've heard a lot of that, and a lot of the people I've talked to online, they're really like Alien. Like people are really into that. Like they sing their praise. Even OSR people are like, this is really good. So that's actually one, apart from the typical suspects like Shadow Dark and whatever. That's the other one that I hear a lot about.
Shadow Dark. I've so when I go to a convention, and like I said, I go to smaller conventions. So 400 or 500 people, even smaller ones than that. But like when I talk about the mid-sized conventions, for me, it's like 500 to 600 or so people. When I go to those conventions and I walk around, and there'll be 40 tables, let's say, set up there. I mean, I'll see all kinds of games, like old school D&D is being run, like AD&D a lot. I'll see now. A lot of times I'm running these game systems too, so like but I'll see like I ran Blade Runner, I've run Bushido at a convention, I've run Gangbusters at a convention, I've run Fallout RPG at a convention. But I see other people running other stuff too that you normally wouldn't see. I see a lot of Savage Worlds being run at conventions, whether it's Deadlands or something related to that as well. Deadlands is another big one that you see a lot at conventions.
That's been around for a long time too. I'm glad it has.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's been.
Yeah,
I remember,
so Deadlands is
life,
another one. I should have had that as one of mine. Bring up as an independent. But yeah, Deadlands is huge at conventions.
I mean, Savage World. That's the one that, like I said, this is all anecdotal. I don't got the data to back it up, but I've been hearing about Savage Worlds for like over a decade now. Like I just feel like it's been consistently.
And its latest iteration is is something that you see at conventions a lot. So the the Suede, the adventures. I forget what Suede. I always forget what Suede stands for. But Shadowbane is Dragonbane is another big one as well. But Deadlands is huge. Is huge. Hyperborea, I'm seeing more and more at conventions as well. So that's starting to take off. I'm assuming that Dragon Slayer I saw for the first time last year at Central New York Con, and I'm anticipating to see that explode because Dragon Slayer is starting to get a lot of word of mouth at in the OSR sphere of YouTube. It's getting a lot of mentions. Now, you're not going to see it on the bigger channels that are even, quote unquote, like not D&D tubers. They're not going to mention 2 game systems out there, and that is because their creators are known conservatives. So you're not going to see bigger channels, like 100,000 plus channels, mention Dragon Slayer. Just like you're not going to see them mention, you're also not going to see them mention Axe, Adventure Conqueror King. All right, they're just not. Even though those game systems are growing, and in particular for like Axe is most well known for its handling of domain play. Probably one of the best examples of domain play that's out there, and it just won't gain that kind of visibility in I think privately they would probably mention, oh, it's an awesome system, but they don't feel they can mention it on their channel because the backlash that they would get from and that's pretty much it. But it's a it is part of the battle that was taking place, like like Mark had mentioned, you're basically fighting 50 years of, 50 years of legacy branding. And you're also fighting that political battle, of, if certain creators are, on the opposite end of the political spectrum of the core, then they're not going to get the, they're not going to get the response that they should get. I noticed some other comments popping up in here, so let's see.
I almost feel like this.
Yeah, Hard City. I've heard of that too.
To use a historical analogy, it's like all these indie games were like these great barbarian tribes that are amalgamating together into a confederation to threaten the empire. But there's dissension in the Roman Empire, and then we're trying to figure out a way to live free. I like that analogy. It feels good.
Yes.
But the American revolutionaries trying to live free, guys.
Yeah, I'm just checking through some more comments here. Paul, if you have anything to add, how good is
Barbarians of Lemuria is cool. I first learned that over at Origins. The guy that introduced me to Hyperborea First Edition actually ran a Barbarians of Lemuria game, which it was modified. He ran like a space thing for it. It was just the system for it, but it's like a simple 2d6 resolution kind of game, and Barbarians of Lemuria kind of gets that into that Conan kind of feel with the setting. Mm-hmm. It's a simple mechanics system. They just came out with a new edition of that, I think, within the last year. But that one's a lot of fun. I'm reading a lot of ones that I haven't even heard of. I've never heard of Hard City or Neon Skies. And I was just talking with my buddy on Friday. He's got free time now, and he's like, we had the conversation of, man, we'd really like to play Shadowrun, but that system is hot dog shit,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know, dude. I mean, I've got Cyborg, which is the Morkborg Cyberpunk, and it's like D20, and I'm like, I could just make a version of Shadowrun. I could make my own Cyberpunk thing with this. Like, I still have a lot of my old Shadowrun books, which I love, and I cherish, but dude, not doing it. It's a mess.
I remember because I played with second and third edition with a buddy of mine, and then one friend was like, I'll run it. You guys talk about Shadowrun all the time, and I think the latest one was 5th edition, and everyone around the table was having trouble trying to like wrapping their head around the mechanics. I'm like, what's the matter with you guys? And then I looked at the book, and I was like, this book is horrible. The rules are just like the rules have gotten progressively awful, like more awful. Like as soon as Catalyst is the worst company ever. Like honestly, they're some of their stuff.
That's a great. Anarchy is a bit better. It's a bit better. The last time I played legit, the last time I played legit Shadowrun was Anarchy. I didn't play 2.0. I played the first version, and it was still shot through with bad editing and all. I'm like, guys, we're living in the 21st century. Hire a copy editor. This is ridiculous. The Fossa books had the same problem with errata, but they were those Fossa books had a charm about them. This does not. It's just a train wreck. I remember I went into a Shadowrun Facebook group and I was like, look, I am an OG fan. I live in Tacoma, Washington, part of the Seattle Metroplex. I love this game, but you guys need an OSR overhaul. Like, you guys need to figure this, like, there's so many problems that need to be updated. And a lot of people were like, preach on, brother, preach. And then other people were just mad. I'm like, go eat your errata then. Like, have fun. Like, playing an incoherent game. It's, but, I don't know. You got to find alternatives, I guess. Got to make it your own. There was one comment earlier from Edgelord talking about, at WotC, it doesn't help that they're based in Seattle. I definitely understand that point. I get it. I mean, location does matter, but I think with WotC, I think it just has to do with corporate culture. I mean, corporations really don't care about politics as long as they're selling something. WotC could be based in Arkansas, for God's sake, and they could still be pulling the same stuff. Over the last 15 years, we've seen corporations shift depending on what the seas of culture or society is going towards. I think they all play these games. You know, the fact that they're considering getting a little bit more old school and bringing back in a Gygax, that means that they're kind of trying to shy away from some of the stuff that's been so alienated. You know,
Yeah.
Well,
they're all marketing schemes.
Yeah, that or it's a marketing bait and switch, which is kind of what I think is going to happen. It'll be like, look, we got Luke Gygax. He's the son of the original creator, and it's going to be, boy howdy, it's going to be great. And then it's going to be PDF online only with an AI GM and all this weird, all the weird Microsoft
AI
things
writing
put your ideas in
and
it.
everything. It will not be. It will not be what we're hoping for. You know, it'll be what we expect. You know, and we don't expect anything good. You know, and so that's what it, and that's why there's a growing momentum with these OSR and independent games. We no longer expect, you know, anything really good to come out of Wizards of the Coast or Paizo for that matter. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I heard anything about Paizo. Anything that they're doing.
That's why I keep asking about them. It's like, what's going on?
Like they did that Pathfinder 2 or 2nd edition or whatever like that, and everybody jumped ship. They're like, I have like 800 books for this Pathfinder game, and you want me to rebuy them? Nope. And like,
yeah, and I've heard some people saying, you know what, Pathfinder 2 was actually not that bad, but I still don't see any enthusiasm around it.
Yeah, there's a difference between not that bad and I like to play it, you know. So
there's a definite disconnect between, you know, what you actually see being run in the wild. I have never seen Pathfinder again outside of the room that might be set aside for organized play. I don't see Pathfinder ever being played at anyone's table, walking by and just looking at tables. Because one of the things I do at conventions, you know. And there's 100 tables at Page, and walking past there, maybe 1 or 2 people organically running Pathfinder.
Yep.
You know, maybe 4 running at running 5th edition. Everybody else is OSR and indie.
Yeah. And that's one way how I kind of look at what Kickstarters or crowdfunding games that I'm going to pick up. Like, I never back them on the crowdfunder anymore. I don't care about the tchotchkes or the bookmarks or whatever, the fancy shoelaces that they give you. It's like, all right, is anybody running this at a con? Is anybody playing this in reality? Then it's worth picking up. If nobody's playing it, then it's like, why is everybody even wasting their time buying it?
Yeah, it's just a decoration on your shelf, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why they're like, but it's got gilded edges and a slipcase. And it's like, yeah, but the pages are all garbage. It's all just useless. Yeah. It's just a weight you're buying.
Was there a Pathfinder 2.5? Was there? Did they?
Is he? I don't know if he's joking.
I had no idea this even happened. Like, I mean, I don't play it, but last thing I heard was 2nd edition. I mean, breaking news, everybody. There's a 2.5 Pathfinder.
Is there a revised of 2.0?
No offense to my Pathfinder bros, but like, I had no idea. You're still around?
They did do that, didn't they? They did Starfinder, and then they did a 2nd edition of Starfinder like 2 years later. I completely forgot about that. So that's what Paizo's up to. They're spinning their tires, re-releasing editions, hoping that you'll keep buying their stupid books. And if anybody's played the GW game, you know exactly what that's like.
For real.
Yeah. So it's like looking at, you know, the other, you know, other games that are out there. They're just on the rise. There's more and more out there that is going to bring people back to it. You know, somebody's like, I just got my copies of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, and, you know, some people have said, oh, this is just a reprinting of the old, but it's like it's formatted better. It's got better layout than the originals. And, you know, it supposedly has quite a few new, you know, game mechanics included in it as well. So it's not, you know, the art is definitely improved, and it's, you know, there's more of it, and it's not just taking the old black and white and making it colorized, because they have the original artists working on it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that tells you a lot as well. I haven't started digging into the game system itself, but, you know, you want to talk about IPs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is huge compared to D&D.
Yeah.
As an IP, huge compared to D&D. All right, from beginning with comics to then moving on to graphic novels. I forget if the graphic novels were before the comic books. There might have actually been first in graphic novels and then comics, which was
it was comics first,
which was
and
something
TMNT.
different, in that day too. And then it went to the role playing games, and then it was in console games, and then cartoons on Saturday morning cartoons, to movies, to live action movies, to I mean, talk about a huge franchise. It's done everything and more that D&D ever did. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like a, I forget how much it's actually. Let me look that up.
And I was gonna say, I don't know how many editions of that they've printed, but that came out 40 years ago. TMNT. I think it was after the bomb was like my second RPG, and I played that when I was like 8. So this is long time ago when it first came out, back in elementary.
Daddy stabbed in the chat said that the Shadowrun Anarchy 2.0 was made by a different company altogether, not Catalyst, and he says it's really good. So maybe I should come crawling back and check it out.
They had demos of that running over at GameholeCon, but like they only had one person running all their demos because Catalyst again can't pry their head out of their own ass. So I was like, I'll swing back, and I just didn't.
I remember when Topps bought them, I was like, the baseball card guys? Like, what? I was like, what?
Well, that was the thing. Post FOSSA, everything was all over the place because Microsoft was like, we're buying all this because we want all the BattleTech computer games. We want,
I remember that. That's a good memory.
They just bought all that. They even made that really shitty Shadowrun shooter game, which was like...
Yeah.
But that's the problem is the licensing for that stuff is so hard now because, what's his name? Jordan Wiseman did, with Hairbrained, they did that Shadowrun Return.
Oh, yeah. That awesome series. Yeah, I thought they were great. Hey, so just a quick side note. The Shadowrun Genesis game is fantastic and extremely underrated. Like, open world, like randomly generated adventures and stuff. Fantastic game.
Yeah.
Just fantastic second edition Shadowrun.
Yeah.
Better. So by the way, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from its inception made about $17 billion.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they had like 4 or 5 successful movies. Compared to D&D's 2, like, well, one was just abysmal, and then the other one, people were like, it's not like getting mugged on the subway. Like,
D&D had like 5 movies.
Did it?
Right.
Did they?
Yeah.
I remember the first one.
No, we're not considering Krull, which was supposed to be like a
no, not Krull. It was the first one was 2000, then Vile Darkness, then there was a third one. All right. The third one was barely called D&D, but it has D&D in it. Like it was not. And then this new one, maybe it's only 4. I think it's 5. How many?
Man, we're going deep dive. I thought there was only 2. I thought there was the recent one and then the one with what's his name in it.
I thought there was the Jeremy Irons still in one.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons. That's it.
Yeah.
There's 4 of them.
The Chris Pine Bard, whatever one that just came out.
Yes. So here are the 4. There's the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons 2000. That's the one with Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Then there was the Wrath of the Dragon God, Dungeons and Dragons, Wrath of the Dragon God. Then there's the Book of Vile Darkness. That's the 3rd. And Honor Among Thieves, that's the 4th.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. So the in between ones, direct to video or something. I didn't.
Direct to video,
cartoons or something.
That was 2005. Direct to video sequel that garnered little attention.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I didn't even know it existed. So yeah.
With a title like Vile Darkness, you're like, this is gonna be a badass sequel, and then no, it's not.
No, the sequel was the other one. Wrath of the Dragon God was the
Okay.
sequel.
Right. Yeah. Jeremy
You know,
Irons.
and those two movies, like the Vile Darkness movie, actually was more memorable than Honor Among Thieves.
Really?
it, it
Yeah.
had, it was more memorable than that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I missed out. I missed the Chris
Yeah.
Pine one too. I didn't.
I didn't bother with that one.
After the masterpiece of the Jeremy Irons performance, I was just like, I've had enough. I don't want to tie. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. It doesn't have like one of the Wayans brothers in it. I mean, I gotta go back and
Yes.
watch that. Like, it's
Yes,
just,
it does. And
Yeah.
it was actually the original one. At least Wayne's character died. I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, at least they got that. At least they had character death in it. That would never make it into a fifth edition, right? They had none of the characters died in Honor Among Thieves.
Right. Yeah. That's okay. There you go. That's how you know it's not going to be any good. It's got to be like early Game of Thrones level. Like, you have no idea what's going to be happening every episode.
I haven't
But
seen the new Deathstalker. I'm not going to pay for it. I'll wait till it's free. I'll wait till it's free to watch.
Can you guys bring me up to speed on Deathstalker? Because what I saw the preview for it, it looks fun and awesome, but people are saying it was part of a series, and I felt like I knew something about this. I didn't know idea it had been around for a long time.
Well, the original was back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this new one, from what I understand, is actually pretty decent. It's a pretty decent fantasy, movie. But like I said, it's not for free, and I'm not gonna, I have streaming services for a purpose. I was like to watch free shit.
Right.
Once it's no longer rent or buy, then I'll watch it.
Right. You know who would do a really great D&D movie, I think? Not that I want to keep hoping that my beloved stops drinking and comes back to me and becomes the hero that they should be. I think the director who did Mandy would do an excellent D&D movie. It would be like an acid trip, but it'd be exciting to watch. It would be
all of his movies. Yeah, it would be very.
Yeah, it would be really great.
Crazy.
Visually, it would be amazing to look at. And if like he was using all these different monsters and characters, like, it'd be great.
Let's see, free on YouTube. I lasted 15 minutes into Dragonlance cartoon.
I was just checking Tubi to see what kind of Dungeons and Dragons we could get into. They only have the Jeremy Irons one there, but they do have Krull, so you can watch.
Well, I do have the videos, so I can watch them. I just don't have. Where do I have them?
The one thing they do have, which I will recommend, is Eye of the Beholder, which is on there. That's about the artists from throughout the years of D&D through the books. That's a great little documentary. It talks to all the, they talk to Easley, they talk to, what's his name, Elmore, everybody. It's a great little movie.
Yeah, so I do have the double feature of 1 and 2.
Oh, heck yeah. Movie night at Bloodworth's house. We're coming over, bro. We're doing it. It's going to be killer.
I do have the double feature here.
It's all night.
I have this one. The only really good Dungeons and Dragons movie that has ever been made.
I can't see it. Oh, I haven't
Hawk
seen
the Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer. Yep.
If you haven't seen that, you got to watch that.
Okay.
That is the only really good, probably the best D&D movie ever made without it being called D&D. The other one that you need to watch is Dragon Slayer.
Oh, there we go. I think I've seen Dragon Slayer. Is that with who's in that? I think I saw that.
Nobody you know.
Oh, okay. A Dragon Heart was the one I was thinking of what's his name?
Oh yeah, that was with Sean Connery.
Sean Connery was the dragon, and then who was the fighter in that? I can't remember.
I forget who the fighter in that was.
Yeah.
That was not a good movie.
I saw that in the theater with my dad. Oh.
Yeah. This was with the. This one was Peter McNichol.
Yeah,
You're
he
too
was
young to remember who Peter McNichol is. You probably only know him from
Ghostbuster 2.
maybe. Oh, you wouldn't even know that.
Ghostbusters 2. He was Janusz. Remember?
I don't know, man. I was
He was the
born in
little Euro
'85,
guy.
dude. I remember quite a bit.
Right, yeah. So Peter McNichol was more well known for his sister was Christy McNichol. All right, and she was a pretty big teen star in the late 70s, early 80s.
So was he? You said he was Janusz and God. So was that the? Is that
little
the
Euro guy from the art studio or whatever?
Oh yeah, he's like the Renfield for the
yes,
for Vigo.
Yeah,
I know that guy. He's creepy as hell, dude. When he's in the the manger and he reaches out for the boy, Vigo the Moldovan, do not fuck around. Like hell no. Yeah, no, I remember that. I mean, I was born in '85, but I'm an elder millennial, so like the culture overlaps like dramatically. I remember a lot of that stuff. Even if I didn't directly experience it, I grew up with it, right?
Yeah.
So Edgewater was asking if I've seen Beyond the Black Rainbow. I have. It's good. I don't like it as much as Mandy, but I think it's visually. I mean, it's never boring. It's a bit like a Kubrick movie. It's so kind of slow paced, but like really trippy.
Anyway, we're getting far off the field now. Let's get back to the OSR and independent
indie TTRPGs.
So,
I think one of the big strengths of it is it brings it back to kind of the table and playing with people. That's the problem with WotC not having a presence anywhere. They're not teaching you the game. So like you've got Mark in the chat. He's like, my tables fill up instantly. It's like if I see the designer running a game and he's excited to play it and teach me it, I'm there.
Oh yeah.
That's why whenever people are like, why did Shadow Dark get like so popular all of a sudden? It was like, it wasn't all of a sudden. She was at GaryCon for like 5 years in a row running an open
She's
table.
doing legwork for years.
Anybody that showed up, she's like, come on in, I'll teach you the game, and she's excited to do it.
Yeah,
It's
doing
like,
actual organizing every year.
That's the thing. If you have a guy who's like, they know the rules, they teach you the game, and they're happy and excited to do it, that goes miles for selling the game. So
yeah, well that's like my introduction to Hyperborea was Jeffrey Talanian was running it at ShireCon.
Yeah,
I mean every chance I get to sit at his table, I'm going to do it. I sat at Rob Connolly's table when he was running his game system too. I mean, sitting at the table of people who either created the game or are best known for like an adventure or whatever. Like I played in Frank Metzner's game. I played at Alan Hammock running Ghost Tower of the Inverness. It was the, when you're Zeb Cook running Oriental Adventures, adventure that was basically Conan, the 1982 movie, and I died by the witch's fire. The witch's fire. Warm yourself at by my fire. And like I was like, I know what this is, and I went into it anyway, just to see. The hell with it. It's a convention game. Who cares? And of course, my character never woke up. I was like, all right, it is what it is. But yeah, anytime you have a chance to play in a game run by the creator of the game system, jump on that. Absolutely jump on that.
Yep. Because usually 99% of the time they're going to be spot on with the rules. Sometimes you'll get some flunky that the company hired to teach you whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're running sessions just so they could get a free badge at the con, and you can tell it's like halfway through you're like, dude, you've been checking that book way too often. Like,
yeah,
you needed to do your homework before you did this.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing I was talking about the other day is that, places like Japan, Call of Cthulhu is like the #1 game. That's like what people consider. D&D is there, but like Call of Cthulhu is like that's what people play.
No, D&D is minuscule there.
Yeah.
Sword World is the #1.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sword World is the #1 fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah.
Call of Cthulhu is the #1. I guess the #1 role-playing game there.
Yeah.
Which is
the demographic is crazy for that because it's middle-aged women
playing Call of Cthulhu.
Really?
Yeah, in Japan, it's middle-aged women playing Call of Cthulhu.
I'm not
like the absolute reverse of the U.S. It's completely different.
I mean, I'm not trying to be essentialist or something, but like most of the diehard horror people I've met in my life are women, so that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Investigations, I could see why women might be more interested in that than, you know, kicking ass in a dungeon somewhere.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting because like I'm not trying to be dense. Like I know what the answer to this is, but just for the discussion, like what would we consider to be an indie game? So we know that WotC is corporate, right? That's the suits.
Mm-hmm.
But like to me, I mean, Chaosium's, you know, they're in the top 5, they're in the top 10, but I wouldn't consider them corporate. I think they're privately owned and they're small scale compared to Hasbro, obviously.
Yeah,
But it's like,
it's not so much that you're a corporation. It's, do you have the corporate mentality?
Yeah.
Or do you have a gamer's mentality?
Right.
You know, was TSR a corporation at the time? You know, but you know, probably. But Gary was a gamer's gamer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, he cared about, you know, that kind of thing. It's almost like Stan Lee. All right. If you ever listen to Stan Lee talking about fans, you can tell that he was a, you know, he was a fan's fan. You know, and when you're dealing with people that have a true love, more so than making money, but a true love for the game that they created or the product that they're pushing or whatever, it's like you're always going to get something better out of them. You know, a true love for the game. And that's the one thing that the corporate mindset doesn't have. You know, and that's why they do not produce anything really good, you know, really get well that you have to get your hands on. You're not going to get that from Hasbro or a Paizo or something like that. They're never going to generate that kind of buzz.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I'm just wondering, like, you know, when we think of indie games, I mean, we know the answer. It's like smaller groups of guys putting together a zine. We know what this looks like, but like Chaosium, they've been around for a long time. I mean, they're, you know, I mean, is that what we would also consider? I don't know. It just,
I don't
know. I'm not
know
trying to split hairs or anything,
Chaosium or Palladium, or you know, because that's another big one out there.
They all seem like small businesses compared to WotC and Hasbro, right?
Yeah,
they all seem like mom and pops compared to that, right? It's like this.
Yeah.
I'll give them this. I think it's based on if you have like a sole vision, because that's why Chaosium and Palladium they're very kind of set in where they are, and you know what flavor they are. It's because it's like you've got Kevin Symbieta doing everything for Palladium, and you had Greg Stafford doing everything for Chaosium, pretty much. So it's like when you have like 2 or 3 designers tops, and they're all have like one shared vision, then it's like that almost falls into that indie or whatever it is. But it's now D&D doesn't have that. Now it's like we've got to run it through the demographics and see, you know, how we can maximize profit and
focus
all that.
Groups,
and it's gone. Like that, the flavor of like people, like I don't personally like it, but there are people who love Greyhawk, and it's like you're not going to get things like Greyhawk anymore. You look at the campaigns they released for 5th Ed, and it was almost like they were doing the minimum legal amount to keep a copyright. It's like, that's what they printed out. They're like, here's a pamphlet on Forgotten Realms. Goodbye. And then they just did that with everybody else. Spelljammer, all that. They crapped out like this 80-page little pamphlet, and they're like, there you go. There's your campaign setting. And you're like, seriously? Because it's like, and for as much as all the grognards who hate 2nd edition, it's like those campaign books back in the day, man, they were filled with art and flavor. You were there, and it's like WotC was the opposite end. It was they gave you nothing.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I agree that like, you know, corporate can also is definitely a mentality. I think there's a structural element to it because if your obligation is to shareholders who don't really give a shit about anything as long as they get their money, then that kind of puts you in a problem. I mean, out here, I think there's a lot of like mystical thinking around nonprofits. Like people think, oh, you're a nonprofit, like you're a charity, clothing and feeding the poor. A lot of times, a nonprofit it's just a tax status. It doesn't mean anything about your intention as an organization.
Right.
or what you're actually going to be doing.
You go to who heads the company and look at what
Yeah.
car they drive, and that'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly. That'll tell you. That's not exactly oaths of they're not medieval monks, like, you know, taking care of the sick and dying. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
It's definitely a mentality for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to address, or at least talk a little bit about Mark's, comment here. So TSR was never a corporate. That's why it failed. I think it might have failed because it wasn't a business either. I mean, it's like less so that it wasn't a corporation. It wasn't a business. It was, it was mismanaged, by people who weren't really businessmen. They were more so creators, and they were just, putting out stuff that they wanted to put out, and, I think when it started following more of a business model, which would be like second edition, and they started churning out product just to inflate its market view, let's say, like its visibility, its market visibility. That's when it ran into the ground. Was that, it started to overproduce, and it was just without any editing or, play testing or any, like the splat books is what killed it. And they just overstocked it and, really making it, too big to succeed, but easy to sell. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was the goal, was to make it something that would be easy to sell off to somebody else. It's almost like selling stocks on the short, is basically what they did.
That's interesting because my recollection of third edition was something similar. In addition to the OGL material, I remember just going into stores. Actually, Wizards of the Coast used to have their own game stores back then, which was, as a kid, was awesome, by the way. Mm-hmm. And you'd walk in third edition, it was just huge, just tons of stuff, and it was official and OGL. It was just oversaturated with extra splat books. So it's interesting. They kind of did the same thing, except it didn't kill them.
Right. Well, that was the thing. They, by opening up things with the OGL, they took a lot of that pressure and burden off of themselves, and that kind of led to what I hated about third edition. It became what I call prestige class, and that's all you were looking for was like, I'm going to buy this Mongoose Publishing book. It's got a prestige class that's numerically better than all the others, and we're just going to play Let's Win the role-playing game. And that's what everybody was doing. So from level 1, you're like, okay, I need to take all these stupid skill prerequisites, so I can, once I hit prestige class, I will defeat everything. And you're like, that's lame. That's not D&D at all, But
I'm just like, why can't you just be a thief? Like, you're a thief. Like, you don't need some extra qualifier. Like, the qualifiers are what you get in the game. Like, oh, I want to be a pirate. Okay, like you're a thief class, but you're a pirate on a ship. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah, you're a thief on a boat.
Yeah, that's what do you think is closest to that? Like, you don't need a specific.
Well, all you needed was Dragon Magazine, and there were probably pirates in Dragon Magazine.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I would almost guarantee that there were pirate class in Dragon Magazine.
Right.
But that was that late, early 2000s had a lot of that. Because, I think they went OGL because they were probably looking at what was happening at White Wolf, who was imploding at the time, because that was when they hit, like, saturation point where they're like, well, we could just keep churning out clan books and tribe books and other books for this very rules-light storytelling system that we have, and then people realized, like, we just don't have money anymore for the millions and millions of books you guys are churning out. So then they did, like, their end run where it was like each of the vampire, werewolf, and all that. They had like their end book where it was like you had Gehenna for vampires, Apocalypse for werewolf, or whatever, and it was like, we're done, no more books.
Vampire and all that stuff. I remember that from when I was a kid. I had the original Vampire book, which I kind of missed. I gave it to an ex-girlfriend. Do not recommend, bros. Do not give your stuff to girlfriends. Just don't do it. Just keep it. Anyway, I'm kind of wondering if that fits in with this idea of, like, the D&D, the hegemon, the center of gravity, kind of like teeter-tottering, and then another system kind of moving in and taking up the space for a time. Because Vampire was like a serious competitor for a minute, So I'm kind of wondering if anybody have been around during that time, what they think, because that definitely made its mark for sure. And it's interesting that they kind of made some of the same mistakes. They oversaturated, right?
Right. No, yeah, definitely Vampire was big at the time. There were a lot of people playing it. That was, I mean, what was it? It was the early to mid '90s, so it was like you had grunge, industrial music, all that stuff. You know, The Crow had come out, so this is leather trench coats everywhere, man. So it was
Best time,
like,
best. It was the height of culture.
That was, yeah. All these guys looking now for the hot goth girlfriend. You're like 4 decades late. Sorry, it's just
keep your vampire books, bro. Keep them. Yeah, it just seems like that was another. I mean, because I can't recall who made Vampire, but I mean, they seem like they were a bit of an indie upstart in comparison to D&D.
Mark's got a good thing. Yeah,
LARPing was huge.
Yeah,
LARPing
the Mind's Eye
was huge
Theater.
in what, the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Or late 90s, early 2000s. LARPing became a big thing.
It was the Mind's Eye Theater, right? I think that's what the book was. There's a really great documentary, I think, on Netflix or Amazon about Vampire, which is interesting. A large portion of it's about LARPing.
Yeah. Which created a big divide, because again, like the grognards saw that stuff where it was like, who are these drama kids? What's this all about?
Yeah, what's this? Yeah.
It was like, that's just the evolution of it's going to go off that way, man. It's like sports. You're going to have weird stuff.
White Wolf, that's right. Thank you, Edgeworth. I spaced on that.
Why don't we play soccer in a pool? Now you got water polo, so there you go.
Paintballing was my version of LARPing.
I know, that's pretty badass, though. Yeah.
Well, you see them now. They do that. What's
in
that?
the early 90s,
airsoft, right?
I used to go paintballing with a bunch of my Army buddies and a couple of Marine buddies that we had there. We used to go to this one place. It was, I forget how many acres of land it was. Something like 50 acres of land. They had a helicopter, an actual helicopter. That would drop,
go in the airstrike.
Grenades on top of you. The only thing you couldn't shoot at it. And, but they had a helicopter.
Grenades.
5,000 people, 2,500 per team. Just fighting back and forth across this, massive.
That sounds awesome.
We used to crank up the PSI, the inches per second or whatever it was. I forget going back to early 90s. And I'll never forget one of my Marine buddies, he got hit in the lip. And split him wide open. You could see his teeth, like the base of his teeth, and split him wide open.
Blood coming down.
And he was just like, all right, just staple that. He literally stapled it closed and just threw a bandage across it, and then went back out onto the field afterwards. Jesus. And it was like every hit was like leave you welts, even through BDUs, through summer weight BDUs, which are like, wear your summer weight BDUs for this and everything. And every hit would leave a welt even through that, because everybody cranked up their things. And it was like, I never did any kind of LARPing at all, medieval LARPing and everything. It was like, no, we're doing Twilight 2000 LARPing here, in 1993, kind of. So it was just, ridiculous how much fun we had doing that. But LARPing was huge in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Massive. Yeah. What did those paintballs ever hurt? I never got to play. I always wanted to. I was always wondering how bad they hurt.
If you illegally cranked up, most of those guns you can get to a feet per second, where the paintball will break you open. If it hits your clear skin, it will break you open. All right, it literally split his lip wide open.
Yeah. That's why they have goggles and masks and all that.
Wide open. So, but it left welts through. I don't know if you know how heavy winter weight BDUs are, but they're pretty thick. It's almost like wearing, quarter inch of canvas or whatever and you'd still have a welt, a bleeding welt through that. Wow. So it was pretty tough stuff. But I'm sure getting hit with wooden swords is a painful thing too. It's like
I remember boffing weapons being a thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's why they cover them up in foam now. Yeah, you've got the big foam weapons you could bang each other with or whatever.
There was a group at my local the park next to me, which I like to go walking through. They used to do big boffing tournaments and stuff, and it was like everything was like over exaggerated for the swords. And I was like, this is dorky, but it looks so much fun. I'd just beating the hell out of each other with this stuff. It was just like, it was so cool. Paranoia live action? Are you serious? That's real life. You don't need to LARP that. That's like every single day. We call that Monday at my house. It's Paranoia.
Yeah, there were definitely some downsides to LARPing, though. I think it was a local convention, Capricorn, I was at in the mid-'90s. And it was like, oh, that guy's getting let off in handcuffs. What happened there? And it was like, oh, he got arrested in the LARP because he didn't understand a no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a game, buddy. Now you're going to jail.
Yeah. They were all wearing red T-shirts. And I knew right away what was going on.
Yeah. As a kid, I remember there being like me and my gamer friend. We didn't LARP, but there was like a kind of a weird stigma about it. Like I remember us being in different game shops, and we would run into a guy, and he would mention LARP, and we're all just like, back away. Like we don't want to talk. Like, you know, it was just like we don't want to find out. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's stupid kid stuff. Like if I met someone who was in the LARPing, I would be, that's cool. Good for you. Like when we see what your costume looks like. But I guess in a way it's kind of ubiquitous because there's cosplaying, which is like a form of LARPing, right?
Yeah.
More acceptable, right? It's like you don't join a commune; you're in an intentional community.
Well, it depends on people look at people that are cosplaying and like they're weirdos too. I mean, it's just anything that's part of nerd culture is always going to look, is always going to be looked like that. Looked down upon it, or you're going to be looked like you're a geek, you're a nerd, you're whatever. So anything associated with nerd culture.
I just think the pecking order is really funny, because it's just like we're all a bunch of freaks, nerds playing D&D, and they're like, dude, LARPers, like you're weird, like you're the real nerd, Like I just
you're on the lower end.
Like it's just like contagion, just like get away from me, cover your mouth, like I don't want, It's just
that's
like
why
so
you have anybody that I'm just like it's just a different subculture of the hobby. That's all it is. Anybody trying to pull the whole alpha nerd thing, I'm like, calm down there. Dude. Roll for initiative, by the by, and you spilled your Mountain Dew too, you slob.
It's exactly. Yeah, I think we're all guilty, right?
Right. Yeah. So it depends on the game. Yeah, it does depend on the game. It depends on the form of. No one else, no one's going to complain about the cosplayers that are, female cosplayers that,
are attractive,
look great in, look great in a bikini, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're not going to get, ridiculed for it. And I mean, that's just that's just nerd culture, right? It's like, when I went to my first Comic-Con at the Javits Center in New York City, so what is that? 60,000 people a day passing through there. I mean, it's a huge thing, and that was the first time I ever seen. It was like, I've never seen so many Japanese girls in my life. I was like, they were all scantily clad, and as anime characters or this or that or. They're the box girls, right? Selling stuff and everything like that. I was like, I mean, just, put that in any other kind of setting. I would be like, this is weird, but there it was like, all right, I get it. It's like, that's just what it is. It's basically LARPers or cosplayers that are, just selling stuff, it's a marketing ploy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't. Just for the record, I don't have a problem with LARPers. I'm just, when you're young and you're stupid, you have stupid ideas. So.
I mean, it's not the first time. No, it's not the first time I've heard it though. That's the thing. There's plenty of people who are like.
If I had a friend that was a LARPer, I'd be like, "That's awesome. Like, tell me all about it." these days, I'd be like, that's great. Are you still doing Mind's Eye Theater? Like, what clan are you? Are you the Toreador? What are you? Like, tell me all about it. I'm like, this is awesome. Anything better than the banality of day-to-day life is good. Fine.
Okay, so let's circle on back to OSR and independent games. So, as let's see, maybe Sheila's. Be careful; some of them may be Sheila's. Yeah, or she-males or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, some of them can be she-males.
I would say, yeah, is that an autocorrect or who knows?
Yeah, maybe it might be an autocorrect. Yes. So anyway, or anime. Yes, they could be anime. So getting back to OSR and independent games, yeah, I see a slew of games getting much more visibility, much more, far more mentions, and across numerous YouTube channels and on Facebook and in X and elsewhere that you just don't hear that same kind of hype for, let's say, D&D 5e or Paizo, Pathfinder Second Edition or whatever. It's just there's just not that enthusiasm out there, and I've seen a number of people coming out and saying, "Oh, well, like every 6 months the OSR is dying."
Oh yeah,
We've
sure.
probably all seen those. It was like, "Oh, the OSR is dying."
Just like rock music has been dead for like 50 years or something.
It's like no, it's not. Maybe one game doesn't take the hold that some people were anticipating, or they propped it up, or sometimes I've even seen it where they purposefully, boast about something that they know is not going to, seize the day, kind of thing. And so that, you see, this is what I was telling you. The OSR is, I've seen the OSR is toxic, that, it'll never draw, that many players to it because, it's a bunch of gatekeepers and it's like, how could you say any, segment of an industry are gatekeeping when they're producing, 500 publications every year? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's, I have 50 different versions of BX out there to draw from. So how is that gatekeeping? It's given me more variety than I could possibly look for, or want to have in my collection, and yet I could find 5 or 10 of them. I'm like, I really like this game. You know what I'm saying? And I have that kind of choice. That's not gatekeeping. That's just giving us a lot of choices out there.
Right.
Those innovations. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I'll go right now.
Like, it's the least gatekeepy thing because you could just make your own BX clone, and there you go. Like, if you have rules and you want to change the game, you don't have to change the official game because you can't. That's the gatekeeping in this. Everybody has their own thing. There's no one guy. There's no crown in the OSR. Everybody's got their own system. And if you're a lazy bum and you want to try to create something, make a BX clone. That's all I said.
And that's like, that game's been going strong since the 70s. So,
right.
Out reviews in one click. So here's a question. This is going to be a tough one. What are our collective top 5? All right. So we haven't chosen this here.
Right.
That's an impossible, like.
Man, why you put me on? Why you calling me out like this? Like, I'm stressed out now. Like, I'm sweating underneath this hat.
We did not discuss this yet. I mean,
way to put me on a spot on a Sunday.
I just needed to lean forward about a foot,
and I mean, not even going.
There you go.
Yeah, not even going for like staying within genres. If we just went fantasy genre.
Because, like I've said, this pretty much replaced AD&D for me. So I was like, That's
Yeah,
easily
I
in
mean
my...
that would certainly be within my top 5. This would definitely be within my top 5. Even though I just picked this up, I'm really starting to lean towards this being in my top 5. So Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
This is definitely in my top. This is definitely in my top 3.
Yeah.
Shadow
Right,
Dark,
that's not even a question.
That's
This
a
is
game I
definitely
always
in my
wanted.
top 3. For a game system that the first time I ran it at a convention.
I gotta get mine. Hang on.
So that tells you how easy this system was to pick up
There you go.
and run for the first time. So I would definitely put this in my top 3.
Yeah.
I would
It's
have
an
to
easy
say
one.
Castles
I
and
run it for
Crusades.
fill-ins for my
Yeah,
Friday group,
Castles
so
and Crusades is in my top 5.
Yeah, it's over there, yeah.
I mean, so I've already just mentioned 4 games, right? So I already have 4 games in there.
My Chud Flex.
Yeah. So, I mean, do I put... Now, I'm just sticking to fantasy right now because there probably aren't... I mean, Gangbusters is standalone.
Yeah.
I don't have any other gangland or that theme out there.
There really isn't a lot of gangster crime games.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There really isn't.
Like the one.
There's probably 3.
That's
there's probably 3 of them out there, and I only know Gangbusters.
Well, it's like I mentioned the last time we played it too. I was like, you know what? I found out what I think is awesome about this is that it's like from the get-go, you're playing domain play. You're immediately like, all right, we're starting up our criminal enterprise.
Yeah, that was something that, well, I think that's more so because you guys are building something. Mark, by the way, Paul is one of my 2 Gangbusters gamers, and they're trying to build a mob family basically from the ground up. So they started with petty crimes and just trying to, we're doing all the historical research at the same time, and really, like Paul said, was this is really like domain play right from the get-go.
Yeah,
because
it was the last
section. An organization.
Last session, we were looking up the prices for washing machines because we're like, we need to start up front for this. So we started up
the mob laundromat, like
well, an industrial laundromat, so that they can create a cover for their trucks that are hauling whiskey, to their speakeasies and everything like that.
So much fun.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just if you're free Thursday mornings,
Let me see what time it is. I work a night job, but I'd love to be a mob enforcer for your laundromat.
Well, you're on the West Coast, so that would be like 3 a.m. No, wait, it would be like 6 a.m. for you.
Oh yeah, I go to bed. That's why I'm crashed out. Otherwise, I'd be roughing people up for the coin laundry.
Yeah,
everybody give it up for Mark. By the way, Mark's awesome. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Mark's a great guy.
He makes awesome stuff. Everybody check out what he's doing.
So yeah, if I broke out of genres and I started looking at other things like sci-fi, I mean, you got to go with Traveler. Whether it's old school or the latest iteration of Traveler. I love Star Frontiers. Always have. Not the greatest fan of their D100 system of gameplay, but I love Star Frontiers. The greatest lore out there for that kind of sci-fi. You have to put a Mothership in there as well.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played Aliens yet. I've come close to playing Aliens twice. All right, and one time the DM couldn't show up, and I ran Savage Worlds instead. But Savage Worlds for science fiction horror was awesome. All right, worked really, really well. And I'd have to put in Blade Runner RPG as an awesome game. That's probably my number 1 in that genre. Is an absolute killer game.
So that's one of the things I've noticed about indie games. So maybe just because I'm not hooked in with the 5e stuff as much anymore, but like the thing I think about indie games and OSR games is that they've been steadily gaining ground over time, and that like the people that are into these games are way into them. Like they're really
Right.
into them. They're super into Mothership. They're super into Dragon Slayer. It's like they're really enthusiastic, or Shadow, whatever. You can list them all off. We've been talking about, and to me, that sort of like energy and dynamism is what we need to keep climbing up the mountain. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the without number games, those are pretty, like when we were talking about crowdfunding, Kevin Crawford, like anything that guy prints, is like it's worth
he's constantly being name dropped. I mean, I feel like every thread, if I'm thinking about a different or whatever, if I'm looking around, like I was looking at alternative Call of Cthulhu style games, like someone's always mentioning him. Like his stuff is always coming up, even just as a reference. Like,
right.
If you're running, there was a YouTuber I was following. I can't remember his name right now, but he did OSC, but he used the Worlds Without Numbers as reference. That was like the two books he used, and that was it. Like, so it's constantly.
Yeah, it's just those books that are just packed with good information to where you're like, I don't feel bad buying this because it's worth a read and it's going to stir something up in my brain for some other game that I have. So having those, it's like it's a win-win situation. You're never going to waste your money.
I mean, as far as Westerns is concerned, Mark Hunt has a great Western game. It's built on the BX model, so it was, on the BX frame. So that is, what is that called? Western, blah. Mark, help me out there to say remember your game's name.
Yeah, Mark, tell us about how awesome you are, Mark.
Yeah, his Western game is awesome. I mean, it really does it takes Boot Hill and it puts it into a BX, and then it fleshes out some of the Tales of the Old West. Thank you.
There you go.
Tales of the Old West. I don't know if that has the BX written in there as well, but that's an awesome game. If I were to run a Western game at a convention, that would be the one, because I think that is the most accessible for new players to come right to it, and as long as they know D&D BX, they'll be fine, with that system, and the character classes are really well designed to it, and you can do a real Pulp Fiction thing. Like I was looking at like taking Robert E. Howard's Bear Creek stories, Breckenridge Elkins stories, and converting them to that, and it would work out awesome. So that's a definite must-have. Tales of the Old West.
I wanted to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Year Zero engine. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's always awkward over a video screen, so I don't want to accidentally jump. The other thing I was going to say about like OSR innovations is, like, to me, those are like milestone things that I really can't go back from. So like we were talking about the OSC, like that layout, like once you see that layout and see how easy it is, I mean, even, just the flip that control, you cannot go back from that. Like, that is something like, if you don't like, I mean, not every book has to have it or something, but like, that is such of a great innovation. Like this idea of being able to use the material very quickly and be able to use it at the table if you need it, like the readability, the accessibility that OSR material tends to go for, and the economics of like fitting everything onto a page. I mean, those are like quality of life improvements that you cannot go back from, in my mind. Like,
was another reason
I mean,
Shadow Dog
I literally did a video just talking about the layout of this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, and I remember talking to Chuck from Trollord Games, who does a lot of the layout work or at least talking about the layout work with it. And he was saying the same thing. It was like, you don't know what goes into doing a layout where you have no overflow onto the next page. I mean, just just trying to craft the size of images, or where to place images, or how to trim content, text, just so it will fit on the page without going the cheap way out of changing the font from like a 10 to a 9 or something like that, and just altering font here and there to make shit fit, or to change the margins on the page. But I mean, this is genius level layout, because not a single thing goes one word into the next page, and there's no signs of, oh wow, this is a lot of dead space either, and the pictures don't look like the images that they put in there, the art that they put in there. None of it looks like, well, this is excessively elongated just so it fits, and you have things that look like they're stretched out of proportion now. Everything just looks so purposefully done that I'm like, this is amazing work. And like I said, like, you don't see how they can go back out of it, but it's not like an industry standard. It should be an industry standard.
That's when I get a book that doesn't have that. I mean, like I said, it doesn't all have to be exactly the same, but it's like, it's hard to look at something that doesn't. And if you look at something like a Watsky 5e thing that's just blocks and blocks of text, like you're reading a postmodern novel, it will drive you crazy in comparison. Like if you watch Chubby Funster's analysis of the Curse of Strahd, I mean, that was giving me like weird, like Nom flashbacks or something, because I was like flipping through it going, "What? Wait a minute, why didn't I run this for? Oh, that's right." Like, I mean, it's just, if you compare it back to back, it's like, why isn't everybody imitating this? And I mean, the OSE thing was that was the culmination of a lot of different OSR books making incremental changes. Like, I mean, Lamentations of Flame Princess, like, here's the cleric. Everything you need to know about the cleric is on one page, right? Yeah. There's a lot of, you open this up, this is your inventory right here. I mean, all this stuff was incremental, but like, to me, like, after that, like, I'm disappointed if I don't see it everywhere. Let me just put it that way,
Yeah. The one thing I want to see on every game system is character sheet on the back of the book.
Exactly. Perfect. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Character sheet on the back of the book. I don't need all of this nonsense. I know what the book is about. I want the character sheet on the back of the book so I can slap it on my printer and print out a character
Shadow sheet. Dark right there. I mean, Morkborg had something similar with like lots of generators right inside, so you don't have to flip. But I mean, all this is like quality of life stuff. I mean, this is just such of a this was made to be played, right? These were made to be played.
Like this here is the referee screen. Is the front inside cover, and right the back inside cover is the referee screen. You just slap this down, print them out. They come landscape too if you're looking for landscape, or you can expand it and you have the referee screen right there. And Shadow Dark does the same thing, like you said. It's just a perfect way of utilizing that space, which is usually dead space, and utilizing it for something as practical as having all of the game rules, and all of the charts and graphs that you would normally use on any given game session at the fingertips of the game master.
But to me, those are industry those should be like, this is it for what
that should be like from here on. It's like, who's going back to a time before toilet paper? No,
exactly.
Nobody's giving that shit up. Right?
Like, I don't, we're not going back to Leaves, guys, and Bark. We're not doing it.
And it's like, there are certain standards that you're not going back away from. So, that's it.
Even the adventures for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, it's like the back has a fold out for like if you're in the jungle or on the coast for the encounter tables, and then if you fold it in here, it's like, this is all the like equipment you can buy at any of the merchants, and then it's like, okay, what's on the front? This is a Nebulith by Zach Smith, so it's like a quasi Japan set,
right?
And then the front of the book is like all the martial arts abilities they added for it that you could learn at the different dojos, and they're all split off into different trees depending on the different dojo. It's like, we want things that are usable and organized. It's not hard.
I am not having water squirt up my ass in place of toilet paper. Sorry.
Oh, bidet? I see. Daddy Stubbs is a man of culture. I see. I guess we're a bunch of savages, right?
The other thing that we haven't brought up with is the single volume.
Oh yeah,
Full game system in one.
Yeah, totally.
All right, and that's another OSR thing that you can find in a variety of different different things. I mean, basic fantasy. I don't know if that was the first that did that. Probably not, but certainly just the idea of having one volume for everything that you need to play and run the game is another thing that is, I think, solely OSR. I don't think very many independent games do that either.
Right.
Have all their game rules in one.
Yeah. And I think somebody was complaining in the chat earlier too that one of the hard parts of getting new people in is when some of these games have like a big 600-page tome, and they're like, "Here's what you need to read in order to play this game." It's like, "Welcome to Zweihander. Here's a 900."
Oh yeah.
Bloated.
You could kill somebody with those books.
Bloated clone of Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah. That's going to be my new RPG, by the way. Negative Space. Leaves and Bark in the dark. It's in the dark, guys. Leaves and Bark in the dark. Roll for toilet paper. You didn't bring any to the dungeon? I guess you're crapping your pants.
Feudal Japan setting.
Oh yeah, that was.
I mean, just run Bushido. Bushido, I think, is the best Japanese RPG I've come across.
My
the old
favorite's
Fantasy
Legend of the
Grounds,
Five Rings, but yeah.
Unlimited, Bushido. I think it's Fantasy Grounds. I'm pretty sure it is.
But yeah, if you're asking specifically for this one, it was Nebulith by Zach Smith.
Okay.
It was based on one guy, Alex Hobson. He spent time in Okinawa, so it's like, yeah, it's very much island Japan. You can use it with Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It's a good book too. Zach Smith does. That's the thing. Like, I don't judge people on their politics or whatever, and Zach Smith's a weirdo, but the guy's creative. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I've got plenty of books, and all of them are very interesting. So.
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, it's good. The same thing with me with music, movies. If it's good, I want to see it. All the other stuff is anecdotal to me. Everything else is like just interesting.
There's
more.
There's very few times that I don't separate the art from the artist. You know what I'm saying? Most of the times I separate it. Otherwise I find it's just too limiting to, because there's so many assholes out there. It's like,
well, what am I going to do?
It's
if
like
they do something horrific like P. Diddy, then it's like, well,
unless it's something like that. I mean,
I'm not going to hear the music the same anymore after thinking about all
that. Once you cross the line, especially when it comes to children or anything,
everybody's got standards. I mean,
there's very few times where I'll let politics get in the way too. It's like, I'm not watching Jane Fonda. I haven't watched Jane Fonda movies since Electric Cowboy. All right, long before probably either of you were alive. It was like, that was like probably the last time, and that's when I became aware of her
psychosis.
Hanoi Jane, days. Because I was too much of a kid back then. But once I became aware of that in my early teens, I guess I was like, I'm never watching that crap again.
Not even a VHS workout tape or something. I mean, come on.
No.
That's another thing we can do. After we're done watching Jeremy Irons with his Oscar-winning performance, we can watch Jane Fonda workout and get some reps in.
Now, it was his post-Oscar-winning performance. He won
I saw that.
Then he did that movie. It was like,
I'm like, is that the guy from Alita? Why is he in a D&D movie? But I was like,
yeah. So. The one book, let's see. The one book, DM'd all in one book. You don't have to wait for something to be back in stock. How many times you need to see, you have to rest in stock and variation thereof. Yeah. I don't know which is the first game system to have done that. It could have been Basic Fantasy. It could have been basic fantasy, being a one book thing. Not sure.
So who was the
I'll have to research that.
Who was the first one to do the digest size?
I think
That's one. What do you think it was, Traveler?
No, because originally D&D was the tiny little guys in the box, right? So Traveler was pretty much just the same thing, 3 little books.
Those are the original in the box, but all in one book?
Yeah, all in one book, digest size.
That's a tough
Who was the
one.
first? Maybe Imitation is the first time I saw it. But I might be missing something.
There might have been one before that, but yeah, like digest size is pretty new.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people just hate it just because they're like,
really?
They don't shelf right.
I hear a lot of people saying
you put it in your bag.
I try to explain to them. You can adjust your shelves, but whatever.
You can stack them on their sides, and you get a lot more in there because you can get more books going sideways.
I just what you're gonna go get your oil changed. You're waiting in the wait. You got your little man purse or satchel, excuse me, and you throw your little book in there, and you got something to do. It's like you can't fit a 5e book in your man purse. What the hell?
He's speaking the truth.
Just practical guys. Come on.
So I can be pretty flexible on layout, but I don't like when the layout is so strict that they put poor descriptions or explanations in the book because they can't have the spillover. Usually they will avoid that by placing pictures in there instead. You know what I'm saying? At least through my glance through of it. And they might not have some of the spells that would normally spill over. I mean, that's the one thing I didn't start looking for yet, is to look for those spells. Like they have certain spells like summoning spells and stuff that, there's table after table after table. Or Find Familiar is another one that has a huge number of different options that go along with it. Makes it a very long worded spell. So you're going to throw that on one page by itself and then throw a picture on it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it would take up a good portion of 2 columns, and then there would be a picture. That's how they work around that. But it's not
that's one that doesn't get brought up a lot
at all, to not have any spillover.
That's one that doesn't get brought up a lot. Did Bloodworth, have you played much DCC at all, Dungeon Crawl Classics?
I've played it. I've never run it, but I played it, and I played variants of it. I ran Weird Frontiers.
Okay.
All right. Very modified, but I ran Weird Frontiers at a convention several times actually, and I've played Weird Frontiers. I've played DCC. As a player, I've done a few funnels and whatnot. I like the system. I mean, the system is a lot of fun. I really like the fact of how unpredictable it is. I like the crazy dice. I like now you got to take out a deck of cards, and every time you shoot, you're going to pull from a card. That's for Weird Frontiers. So yeah, I've played DCC, but not as much as any other of the systems. But I do have it. I have quite a bit of it actually. I have all of the. I got the Dying Earth box set of that and everything like that. So I was like, let me check this out, and I haven't looked at it since I got it. So it's something. One day I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I'm with Daddy Stabs on it. I like the magic in it. That was like one of the fun things, mostly because it didn't use the whole spell slot system. I'm not a big fan of the Vancian magic. I like the idea of like, you could do a blood ritual. It's going to cost you attribute points. You could do spell burn and stuff to get like a higher cast thing. And it was cool too, because some of the spells, it was like, what are you? You're level 10. Why are you casting magic missile? It's like, well, because if I hit this rank, and I have like a crystal orb, I can shoot these, and they travel at like Mach 5 and hit a guy on another continent. And it's like, that's not magic missile. It's like, no, that's magic missile when you up the power level like I can, because I'm a level 10 magician. It's like, that's kind of wacky and cool. Yeah, they did a lot of fun stuff in there. I liked, the dwarves being able to smell gold, so you had him out in front. Halflings like just generating good vibes by getting luck and trading it to people and stuff. There was a lot of fun little mechanics in it. But yeah, that book, That's one of those that really, if you cut the spells out of it, it's like an eighth of the size, just because I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the layout of the book, I suppose.
Yeah, I was saying Gods of the Forbidden North has a spell description, I guess, that's 5 pages long.
Jeez. The summoning spell in Lamentations goes on for a couple pages. I gotta look for it because you can summon something from the size of like a little amoeba to like a world-ending Cthulhu monster. It goes on and on, like
Yeah.
And I think it's a low-level spell too, so you can just like completely destroy the campaign early on, which is kind of awesome.
That's a magic realistic thing, yeah.
Well, that was the cool thing though, because like you had spells like web, and it works basically like it does in D&D. But when you get it in higher levels, you can fill, like you could enter into, like, say if you're on the run, you could duck into a cave, and then you could fire web, and then it got to the point where like if anything moves or touches the web, you know where it's at through a tremor sense. By being connected to your web, and I was like, that's cool. That like adds a whole utility effect to the spell that it didn't have prior.
I was reading a spell in Dragon Slayer that's basically it's Darth Vader's force choke, and it's freaking. I was like, oh damn you! I would never take magic missile again, because this thing, as long as they concentrate, will keep on dealing out that D4 +1 damage for 2 rounds plus 1 round for every level you have. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a magic missile, repeatedly over potentially 4 or 5 rounds, of down. I was like, oh, I would definitely take that if we're playing a magic user in that game. That's my new go-to first level spell. It's like,
Bloodworth, did you ever play, or either one of you guys, did you ever play the old, was it the Mongoose Conan? The D20 Mongoose?
I never played it. I have it all because when I bought the Modifius thing, it all came with that as well. But in PDF form. I backed it, and they were like, oh, here's all the PDFs, because I guess they had license for the Mongoose version when they got their license for it.
Right. The reason why I mention is because Diversity and Dragons did a video on that like a little while ago, and one thing I've been looking for, or noticing, is that like certain games that they have their own specific spells that are like specific for the setting, and that was one of the things that jumped out at me about, apart from the sword and sorcery setting, is that they had really gnarly spells that you would imagine in a Conan like story, like like you can rip somebody's heart out of their chest with your like force, whatever, stuff like crazy stuff like that. And I was like, that would be worth it just for the spells, just to have something nasty in your back pocket. I have my friend Carrie. We were talking about Solomon Kane because I started reading the Solomon Kane collection, which is fantastic. And he was telling me there's a Savage World Solomon Kane, and they have like their own spells and stuff too. So I was like, that would be a great way to add more flavor, because that like in a grimdark setting like that, it's going to be really memorable, scary, nasty stuff, like kind of like what a magic user should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shadow of the Demon Lord never picked up a lot, but they had sections in there for spells where they were like
I remember that one.
Demonic. And if you used the spells, you had to roll corruption saves all the time. But they were vicious, where it's like you looked at a guy and he started vomiting his innards out and stuff. And you're just like, oh my god, there's some really, really horrific stuff in this section.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the standard BX spells. I mean, I think that's great, but like, I mean, I think that adds a ton of extra element to the game when it's like the spells are like borderline scary. Like, this is really something that you're messing with,
Yep.
Yeah, see, Daddy Substain, it's good. Yeah, I've been wanting to check it out because I love Solomon Kane.
I forget which edition of Conan it was. It might have been the old TSR one, but in my Sunday AD&D game, those guys, they use rules from all over the place. It's house ruled to hell, but one of them was weapon familiarity with... I guess because in one of the Conan versions, it was like the more you swung a sword or used a weapon, the more familiar you got with it, and you got better with it. So it's interesting because it isn't like, oh, I just found a new +1 sword, and you throw away your old one because you're like, I could get the +1, but man, I'm really good with this sword. I've been doing a lot of killing with it.
Yeah, I know,
So it's
but that
kinda
makes
cool,
sense. It's
yeah.
a kind of a way of making legendary weapons because you've already,
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things I always loved about Earth Dawn was the way magic worked in that, where you had to tie your tapestry, your magical threads into a weapon, and then it became part of your legacy, and that's how it became magical. Instead of just like
Yeah, yeah, I like that
instead of
about Dawn as
throwing
well.
away weapons, you would have one that became part of your legend.
Yeah, which I haven't dug into enough. I got all of them. Like I got the core 3 books of it, and
Yeah.
I was like, I just have not gotten around to digging deeper into it. I know Legion of Myth used to spend so much time with Earth Dawn. I mean,
Oh
Max
yeah,
absolutely loves that
it's a great
game
fantasy setting.
system,
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, eventually I have to get around to taking a look at it. I throw that into my collection of like the most obscure stuff,
yeah.
from back in the day. So I have everything Gary Gygax did, like both of his game systems, but well, actually 3 of his game systems. I actually have Cyborg Commando
I was
as
gonna
well.
say,
Oh, right
Thrown
on.
in
I was gonna
there,
say you have
so
Cyborg Commando, so
That's
yeah,
the cult stuff right there.
that's the
yeah,
esoteric stuff right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I have the box set of that, and then these other stuff. And I was like, oh, let me get Earth Dawn because I know, like I said, Legion of Myth. He's always talking about. I was like, oh, let me. Oh, I can get it for like $40 for like all 3 books. I was like, bang, grabbed it. I was like,
Yeah.
now I have it. And that's the one thing that stood out was that, there is that, you start with you start with a weapon, it becomes magical, it grows with you, and I really like that idea of that. Yes, I have legendary adventures, and I have, so again, like OSR doesn't have to be a D&D based. So I have Dangerous Journeys and Legendary Adventures, plus also like I said, Cyborg Commando, and I don't think anything else that Gary did other than those 3 after he left TSR. At least I don't have anything else from him. Yeah, the Earth Dawn, I have just the 3 books of Earth Dawn.
For all the Shadowrun I played as a kid, I never messed with anything with Earth Dawn. Of course, I read about it because it was it was like the backstory for Shadowrun. It was like the previous age, or I can't remember before Magic came back, but I never messed around with Earth Dawn. That's something I completely missed out on.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about like OSR, like when we get into, well, what does the R stand for? Because that's a never ending, argument. And, whether if it's Renaissance, that means you're making a new game that adopts, 90% of the old. That's true definition of Renaissance. Revival means you're playing the old. You're reviving it. You're bringing it back to, this is what I'm playing. So when I run AD&D First Edition, that's a revival. I'm not playing Osric. That would be a Renaissance, right? It's like and then just old school rules / role playing or whatever. Just the way of running a game system. That's where like Shadow Dark falls into that. You have the feel, that old school feel, the way you're running it like that. And so it doesn't have to be D&D. And I've been arguing this for a long time. Like, this is as much old school Renaissance as, as a Shadow Dark or a Castles and Crusades or whatever, even though it's not D&D based. All right. And that's because it's from that time frame. It's going back, I mean, even though this one has the BX chassis to it, where the original Gangbusters did not, it's still it would still fall under that old school Renaissance, idea, not being a D&D related game.
I would I know there's a lot of debate about this, and I think it's all good, and I think a lot of people make a lot of really good points about how you can define it. But for me, like with my background in music, I've come to understand it as an attitude or an ethic. It's a way of like understanding tabletop role-playing games. I mean, to me, it's all like hardcore punk was a genre of music, but as it went on, it became an attitude of approaching music and approaching. I mean, a lot of it was just also about self-improvement and all this kind of stuff too. It was about being, about being sincere, doing the best what you can with the tools that you have, not waiting for the ideal situation. To me, that's what it is. I try to think about it in terms of Renaissance or revival. When I was playing fifth edition, I was starting to get into the OSR. It's fifth edition; you can only go so far. But I was doing everything I learned about the OSR in Red. I was trying to implement it the best I could. So I think to me, that's where it comes from. It's an attitude. It's a way of approaching the game, a way of looking at it.
Talislanta is something that DM James used to bring up a lot. I'm pretty sure DM James used to bring up Talislanta quite a bit. So, but I'm not that familiar with it. Where do you get Gangbusters BX other than drive-through? You can get this version of it from Wizard Tower Games. That's the new publisher of it. So I will find a link.
So going forward with like all the ground that indie games have made in the last couple of years, where do you think it's going to be headed? What kind of predictions that you have? To me, I unfortunately, I think a lot of it's going to depend on whatever WotC tries to bring out in the next couple of years. That's going to be a defining factor. I think if they bring out a new edition and they try to go back on a lot of the things that they've done over the, whatever, they try to, bring out some nostalgia or whatever it may be. I think if they misstep a number of times, I think that's going to be a big one. But where do you guys think it's going to go?
I'm sorry. Where do I think which is going?
The topic, we're talking about a lot of like really awesome.
All right. So where do I see the OSR and indie going?
Yeah, and indie going. So because we can see that it's gaining lots of ground, right? Like we have like firsthand account. Like Paul was talking about what you've seen at you guys have been talking about what you've seen at conventions, and like we all know that it's building, and like there's a lot of enthusiastic people involved, and it's always every day it's getting stronger. But where do we think it's going to be going in relation to corporate D&D and what they have planned?
I think eventually it's going to overtake the market share. I mean, collectively. I know one person, I forget who it was. It might have been Mike Merles. Mike Merles was saying at one point, I guess just before or immediately after they fired him, Mike Merles was like, they never quite understood that D&D, as far as the market share was concerned, didn't have to compete against its second best competitor. It had to compete against the entire rest of the market. You know what I'm saying? And, for a long time, it was able to do that. But with more and more of these games just keep on breaking that $1 million mark on the Kickstarter, or even $10 million mark on the Kickstarter, and they're they're just hitting these numbers, or hitting that enthusiasm level, or hitting. Eventually, I see that collectively the OSR and the independent games are going to have a greater than 50% of the market share. And I see that happening probably within the next year or two. This isn't something that's gonna need 5 years or a decade down the road. It's going to be very, very close. There was a reason why Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro produced that 2027 number. All right, around the time of the OGL, back when Cynthia Williams was running it, that's when they set their own deadline of 2027. So they could kind of see the writing on the wall that if not by 2027, they're going to lose that market share, and so I'd say that that's probably a pretty accurate projection. They will be surpassed by 2027.
Right.
Yeah, I think D&D is always going to be the top dog, but indie stuff is gonna. It's definitely going to expand. I mean, one guy that I usually playtest stuff for, Pete, he runs Imagining Games. They helped design the Ghost in the Shell RPG that's on Kickstarter right now, and it's doing massive numbers. And I think that's the thing. There's less people reading Sword and Sorcery because it's old and there's nobody to introduce them to it anymore. Everything's kind of moved on, and I think stuff that's like kind of based on anime and all that kind of stuff, that'll be kind of starting points for people. They'll be like, oh, there's like a D&D, but it's about like whatever, Ghost in the Shell or Avatar or something like that. I've watched that. Well, let's play that. And I think that'll, you'll see there'll be a shift because people will know those worlds and they want to play in them, as opposed to D&D, they'll just like, I don't think they'll be able to grasp as much as a concept just because they're not reading as all the Conan and Moorcock Elric stuff and whatever. There's not enough of the lore to kind of attach them to it.
This next edition I think this is going to be another way. They're going to try to rein people back in as hard as they possibly can, especially if they're going to be name dropping Gygax and all this. Get Luke on board. I mean, if we remember again, 10 years ago when 5th edition came out, that was supposed to be the big concession to the OSR. They had RPG Pundit in the thank yous. He's in the credits for the original printing. Same thing with Zach Smith. And supposedly, I mean, I think Pundit had something to do with Advantage Disadvantage, which is probably one of the biggest innovations from corporate D&D in the last couple of years. But that was supposed to be like 5th edition was supposed to be we want the new players and we want the old players back in and all this kind of, it was supposed to be like, hey, everybody come back home. Right. So it seems like that's what they're going to be attempting to do again, but it's just like whether it's actually going to stick or mean anything, because I mean, the conversation happens on two levels. There's like the mainstream, which is like, I don't know, like, pop culture D&D or whatever we want to call it. I mean, I've got D&D shirts and plush toys and stuff. They're fun. Okay. I'm not judging anybody. I've got a Lady of Pain Funko up there. I drank a big gallon of soy milk before I bought it. Anyway. So I don't have a problem with that, but there's like that kind of level of like pop culture of like casual, maybe even casual people that think D&D is cool or chic. And then there's like where we're at, the people that are actually really into it as a pastime. And, that core to me is what makes a difference, right? I mean, and I'd like to think that a lot of us, after everything we've gone through the last 10 years, we're just like, sorry, we've got better alternatives now,
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of it just like, at least in the current era, was driven by Critical Role so hard that it like, it's like Bloodworth said, I don't know why they didn't run Daggerheart on their show. They probably,
how much money were they given? Holy crap! Like,
they probably got a big deal.
Even if they got money, which I think that because I saw that interview when they were talking about it, and Travis Willingham, he pretty much said without saying it, yeah, we got compensated for it. Yeah. Matt Mercer was like, oh, no, there was no, behind the doors, behind the scenes deal. There was no behind the scenes deals does not eliminate, well, they were up front with the deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You tell me this was a creative decision? I doubt it, Matt. I doubt it.
Yeah. So it's but again, I think that it just showed us, like, if you're not willing to back wholeheartedly your own product, no one else is.
Yeah.
No one. I can't see. I would not get the next installment of it, the next expansion of it. Yeah. It's like, I spent my $60 on it, or $50, whatever it was, to get the box set. It's very impressive. It's very, it's not quite the game system that I would run, You know what I'm saying? Certainly not like that, but I could see the quality and everything that they had done with it. I like some of the mechanics of it and everything like that. Like I like the the hope and the fear kind of mechanics of it and everything. It's kind of like rolling with advantage or disadvantage. But that's not something that they created. Just like 5e didn't create that either. That was not a 5th edition, advantage disadvantage. That actually goes back to an earlier game by Jonathan Tweet, was the first to come up with something specifically like that. Like you roll 2 dice instead of 1 in Over the Edge was the game system that introduced that. Inspiration, by the way, or like where you get like hero points and everything. That actually came from James Bond 007 Victory Games. That was the first introduction of a system that allowed you to do ignore rolls or to re-roll or to do extraordinary things with almost like an automatic crit if you spend this resource point. A lot of what ended up in 5e was actually from previous game systems. They borrowed a lot from those previous game systems, whether it be from 3rd edition or games that were adjacent to a 3rd edition during that time frame.
Right.
So
that was like all the new mechanics in Daggerheart for the most part. I think other than the way that the armor usage works, everything else I was like, oh, that's from this indie game. That's from this other really tiny indie game that everything was.
There's very few innovative things out there. That there's so many hundreds of game systems out there. They're all pulling from the same, 50 years of gaming, and there's very few that are like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. Maybe in my own experience I haven't, but that's only because I don't have 1,000 games in my collection. I've read them all thoroughly to know that, hey, this doesn't exist anywhere else but for the first time here. You could have said that 30, 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That's when the real, like, hey, this is brand new. This has never been done before. Yeah. But I don't think you can do that anymore.
Yeah. That's the real shame. Honestly, Daggerheart would be a good playable game if they would have pulled their heads out of their asses on the whole, like, dramatic scenes and no initiative and just do theater of the mind, but all the abilities have like distances and all this other hard numerics to them, and it's like you either have to go hard numerics or you can go theater of the mind. You can't, like, there is no in between, because then otherwise people are going to be like, how far away is this? You're going to have the questions in between it, and it's like, just do one or the other, and that would have worked out fine. But
well, you guys are way more open-minded and cooler dudes than me, because I instantly wrote it off as just like Theater Kid D&D 5th edition. Like, I just instantly wrote it off. I was just like, there's no way like that I'm gonna try and replicate Critical. There's no way.
Yeah. Oh no, that I wouldn't try to do.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to replicate that, because that's not really. That's not reality role-playing games.
Right.
That's not what happens at a table. That's what happens at a highly crafted,
curated,
sound studio.
Curated. I'm sure some of the stuff is spontaneous and unexpected and everything like that. And I give them credit for doing it. Like, the few character deaths they've had have all been unplanned, just sticking to the dice rolls. But for the most part, there's got to be some editing taking place, some pre-planning going on.
It's interesting. I never really watched it, but I've seen clips. But I saw a video by Joe DeLawyer, who's awesome, by the way, and he said he went back and watched the first season, and he was struck by how different it was. because he said that originally when they started, it was just a hangout show. Like they're ordering
Yeah.
pizza. Like I guess the audience would order pizzas as a prank to break up their game and stuff, to troll them and stuff like that. It was just like a bunch of dudes playing D&D sort of thing. And I was like, that seems like so much more endearing than whatever I'm looking at now, which is like D&D Saturday Night Live, but without any of the, back in the day, I used to listen to actual play podcasts, like role playing public radio. I'd listen to that at work,
Yeah.
and I'm downloaded on my little iPod Tic Tac Mini and listen to that. And they would play all kinds of different games. And that was entertaining. The banter was great. But hats off to you guys for being open minded, because I was just like, hell nah, dude, I'm not.
No.
I was
like I said, it uses good
be
mechanics.
honest with you,
JP
I
Kratka
saw it
says.
being played like next to my table at a convention, and and it was being run, and I was like, all right. I looked over and I watched, was watching them playing it. I was looking at how how much the people were engaged in it and everything like that, and I was like, all right, that looks pretty cool. They're certainly having fun playing it. And I was like, and I've always been open to looking at new systems that do different things than just your, D20 system and, D&D clone kind of thing. So once I saw that, and I was like, all right, the pre-order is like whatever it was, $50. I was like, all right, you know what? I can spend $50 on something to have a learning experience, right? To look into how the game mechanics actually work and else, and whatnot. Basically for the channel and for my own, my own purposes of it too. I was like, yeah, you know what? I will take a look at this and go through it. And I did about like 2 kind of walkthroughs, a little bit of the game system and everything. I really like character creation. I thought, wow, this is really, really cool. You can create a character in like 3 minutes.
That's good. That's not what I would expect. I figured it would,
Yeah. Oh no, it's just pick a race, pick a class, pick 2 starting features. Whether it be 2 spells, 2 talents, whatever, and boom, boom, boom. You have the cards right in front of you, so you don't need anything else but those. No character sheet or anything like that. You have the cards right in front of you. I was like, that is really cool. Now the gameplay, I think that you're always rolling those 2d12s, like for every little thing. It's a constant blah, 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 roll, 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 roll. And I'm like, it's just too much rolling. I like the overall concept of it, but you're not rolling to tie your shoelaces. You know what I'm saying? You're not rolling to do these very simple tasks that should be hand waved. Like, oh, you don't have to roll for that. Players are going to demand to roll for it because that's how you generate advantages. And it's like, well, you have to say, no, there has to be a legitimate, like real consequence for failure before you roll for something. You're not going to have a real consequence for failure for tying your shoelace again. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's
definitely one
where
of the loose
the
wheels
rulings over rules comes into play. And that's where the OSR really does shine over your mainstream game systems, is because it doesn't need a rule for everything. That's where the game master comes in and has the authority over, those rulings over the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was something I had to learn getting into the OSR, just coming up when I started playing, is that the players are competent and you need to let go of a lot of that stuff. You don't need a check for everything. And it got to the point where I was have to tell my players, like, they would, okay, what do I need to roll? I'm like, you don't need to roll anything. You just do it. Like, or even
I'll tell you if you need to. Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah.
No, you just.
The last time I played Shadowwrecker with a couple of friends of mine, they're really big into 5e. It kind of blew their mind that, like, you don't need to be a thief to just find and disarm traps. I was like, you can do it, but you just want to tell me what you're going to be doing. If you're a thief, you're a lot better at it. and you're going to be getting a lot more clues from me. You're going to be getting more information. But they're like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah, you don't have to. Like, anybody can attempt this. Just if you're a specialist, you can do it way better. I mean, it's just,
you're gonna roll it. You're gonna roll an advantage for it every time.
Yeah, you're gonna have an easier time. It's just like, I mean, there's some things that are out of reach, but like a lot of the practical things, no. Like, you don't need a specific skill to do all these different, So that's a big like habit that you have to break for sure. Yeah. So you're saying
being too locked into the character sheet.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the scene as opposed to looking down at your page.
I'm not trying to be a hippie with it, but I just try to tell my players, like, just imagine that you're there, and then tell me what you would do. Like, just imagine that you're in this. Like, use your imagination and pretend like you would do. So in Daggerheart, is that how you level up? Is that like you roll a ton and then you get good at something, or is that it?
Mm-mm.
I'm not familiar with the.
No, I think
it's milestone stuff.
It's milestone, yeah. So when
the problem with what he's saying is you have these abilities. You have these abilities on the cards, and you have to roll the dice in order to generate these points to activate the abilities on the cards. So it's like this. It's woven in together where it's like, oh my god, this is creating a atrocious play loop where you're rolling for everything.
You want to roll for like literally everything.
Yeah, you want to roll
rack up points.
Yeah.
Well, it's like OSR is like no, like less of it. Like yeah.
You don't need that currency at all. Like that's the problem with the game is it's like. If you have one currency, that's fine. That's like the inspiration reroll stuff. It's rare. It can come and go. But this game has like this constant generative currency you need for your abilities, and it's like, nope. The way you built it is we're going to be pedaling this bike through the whole thing. Just these stupid little points. Yeah.
That's it. So it's completely opposite. So the players are finding reasons to roll because they want to activate their powers or whatever it is to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. That's. So the referee's sitting here going, "Stop! You don't need to. I don't want it."
Yeah, no. It's really designed to push that. So a referee probably wouldn't fight against that because that's what it's like the mentality that the players would be like, if it's in the rule book, I have to be allowed to do it. The rule book is the that's how it's run. And that's something that 5e and really Wizards of the Coast, because this was less Hasbro than it was Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast, and it starts with Tasha's. Wizards of the Coast began pushing the idea of we have to strip the game master or the dungeon master of his or her authority over the rules. All right. They needed to strip that power structure away, and that's when you started seeing that whole real push for player agency. I have to be able to do whatever I want my character to do. All right. Otherwise, you're stripping me of my agency. Then you started seeing like real pushback against any kind of a game mechanic, a spell in particular, that stripped the character. Oh, you can't put my character under fear. I don't want to be fearful of this. I can't lose control over my character even for a limited amount of time because you're stripping me of player agency. And they started reacting to it like it was a personal attack on them.
Oh, I remember all this. I remember these debates, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like because this is an interpretation of me that you're taking control of, right. and they started losing the separation between player and character, and it was all directed at the DM. It was all directed at, you're being an adversarial DM. You remember how they used to be like, if you're an adversarial DM, you're the worst kind of toxic player at a table. If you're trying to kill the players off or player characters off, I should say. And it's like that was all by design that Wizards of the Coast started pushing that kind of mentality
Yep.
You know,
And then
modern
and then they
players,
wonder why there's no DMs, right? That's why they
Exactly.
wonder.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It started becoming a self-perpetuating, dilemma for them, where they were like, well, there's a DM shortage. I was like, not in anything but 5e. I was like, no DM shortage anywhere else. But
You try to
5e.
explain it to people though. It's like you can't write in the rules something that's going to fix like a societal or table issue. Like you can only write rules to fix the game that you're playing. If
Right.
somebody doesn't understand social cues or they have some kind of weird sensitivity to a topic, there's nothing you could create in the game that's going to fix that.
Yeah,
That's
there's
a
no
thing that you
top-down
have to
solution to that. Yeah.
yeah, that's a thing you have to work with at the table with that person specifically. So trying to like create this rule where it's like we're gonna create the next generation of great GMs. They're gonna allow you to do whatever the hell you want, and it's like, well, that's not what GMs want to do. Hence the evidence of there are no GMs for fifth
Yeah.
edition D&D. So
Yeah.
yeah,
This is all bringing me back. I remember reading all this. This was really, I remember seeing these big debates, and it was interesting because they paralleled a lot of political debates at the time. Because
Mhm.
Tasha's came out, and there was people saying, "Oh, you don't want us to have player agency and these big mean DMs," and then there was people saying, "Look, and these were the people that came back to D&D, right? Because it was still during the honeymoon. There's people saying, look, we're worried about this setting a tone for the culture of the game that we're not going to be able to get out of." And then the response was like, just make your own rules. Just forget about it. Blah, blah, blah. It was the same kind of stuff of like, oh, you don't like what Walmart's doing? Just don't shop there. It's like, but we're all freaking poor.
Right. Yeah.
It's like what happens at what these big companies do in the marketplace sets a tone for everybody else. So like it was an interesting. This is all bringing me back. It's really interesting. I think like a video on like somebody's smaller debates about the 5e era would be really just for preservation, for just to preserve some of the history, would be interesting, because that period of 5e coming out and people being very excited and coming back home per se, and then it immediately starting to unravel, like when Tasha's and all this kind of stuff is that's important history. I think is kind of
It was one of the first real missteps for Wizards of the Coast to do, and this again was a gaming issue that Hasbro had no concept of. It was solely, because only game creators, only people that knew something about game design knew enough about the table dynamics that, oh no, we have to strip power from the dungeon master. All right. Even to the point that they started rejecting the word master behind it, because that had all kinds of connotations to it,
the master bedroom. I remember everyone getting mad about the master bedroom in your house. Oh no.
Racial connotations to it, gender connotations to it, as well, so it was like, because it wasn't a dungeon mistress, it was a dungeon master. So it was like always a male dominant and all this. And so they started to push back on that at the same time.
It kind of everything unraveled, like everything just kind of
it was all
the sky was falling and everything was suspect all of a sudden.
And it was all just to promote player agency. And to say, oh no, the players have to be the guiding force of this. And then we saw 2 or 3 years later, oh, there's a DM shortage. Right. We can't get enough people, because who wants to cater to that kind of, entitlement? Because that's what it really came down to. Came down to player entitlement, and nobody wanted to cater to that.
And it erodes this idea that tabletop role-playing games are games, and that dungeon masters are also players, and that there's a lot of things they're rolling dice and they're not sure where it's going to be going either. And when you strip that relationship and dialectic out of it, it just becomes a power fantasy, or like a simulated novel or something.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a even worse. It becomes a
this is a therapy session. This is
a group therapy
I was
session.
gonna say,
Yeah.
It gets worse. It gets to that point where people don't understand.
That's
You have no right to my free time.
Yeah.
It's as simple as
It's
that.
like,
I want to run this game.
yeah.
Oh,
This
I'm
isn't
a
a
jerk
game. This is a
misogynist or whatever. You don't have to be
engine.
here. It's
This
as
is
simple as that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a commentator out there. No, this is not a game. This is disguise.
Yeah.
This is a human improvement engine disguised to be a game. Gary was
Right.
such a a social engineer savant that he
Yeah.
disguised this thing
That's what you
to
try to
be
explain to
a
these people
game.
too. They're like, oh, why is it Dungeon Master? It's like because it was created by a bunch of fat bearded dudes in the Midwest. That's
Yeah.
why. Like
It's a medieval
might have-
setting. It's like Masters of Master
Yeah.
of Unlocking, right? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, can it be the what's in Dragon Sword, the Mage Controller? Is that even worse? They're gonna control you. They're
right.
I mean, is
Maze
it even
Controller
worse?
comes from Mazes and Monsters, from what I
There you go.
understand.
Right,
from,
right.
from the movie Mazes
Right,
and
right.
Monsters.
Right. Yeah,
So
totally.
kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like throwback at the Satanic Panic was that hey, we're gonna call this the Maze Controller.
Oh yeah, that's I used to watch that growing up with my friends, and I'm straight edge. I don't do drugs or drink, but like to me, that was like the gamer version of like Reefer Madness.
Mhm.
Like we would watch that and just laugh the
Yeah.
entire time. We were just like, and I mean, it was kind of as an adult, I look back, it's kind of a sad movie, but like it was just to me, it was like the most hysterical thing that we could think of that was fun to watch, right?
Tom Hanks' first role.
I know, yeah, I know. I remember a buddy of mine saying, if I ever meet Tom Hanks, I'm gonna be like, dude, I loved you in Mazes and Monsters. You were so good. You were so great. I think, look, tabletop role playing games, I think they can do a tremendous amount of things for your mental health. They definitely helped me. I think they have a lot of wonderful benefits for people, and I'm not going to downplay that. I mean, just even in a digital age, just being able to hang out with your friends and do something fun collectively together is very radical, I think. But it's not group therapy.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's a social game. It's a tabletop role playing game. That game can have banter and fun, and it can have it can do lots of wonderful things for you, but it is not a substitute for therapy.
Yes, unless you're a trained professional, you should not be treating your game as if it's going to do anything but run a damn game.
Yeah.
I am not a trained therapist. I have no training in it, and I'm not going to fix your emotional or mental problems. If anything, I'll end up damaging them more so than helping them.
It's an unrealistic expectation, and it's an unfair expectation to place on everybody else. I mean, and then I'm not a healthcare professional, but one really good piece of advice that a lot of them will give you is if you're going through a hard time, you need to throw yourself into the things that you enjoy and your hobbies. That's one of the things that will help you. Like, don't place that on expectation on, a bunch of would-be adventurers, like without toilet paper in a dungeon somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to be wrapping this thing up. We're pushing over almost 3.5 hours. So definitely a great discussion, guys. And
sure.
Thank you everyone for coming on in, and great discussion. And I think the future for the OSR and the independent games looks very, very good. Like I said, I predicted, I still stand by it. 2027, I think it has a greater market share of playtime at conventions, especially once you remove organized play. But other game systems are starting to develop their own organized play. I know Troll Lord Games is doing it. That's called Endless Worlds. Shadow Dark is launching that, probably along with the release, in our hands of the West Marches, campaigns and such. So I can see that they're doing organized play. So once they start getting that going, that's going to be even more of that at the convention market share of game sessions. And once they seize control over game sessions being run at conventions, because that's where it's visible for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I don't see what you're running at your table, even if your table is running at a local game shop. All right, but I have a good chance of seeing what someone is running at a table at a convention. You know, and that's the kind of visibility that I think is important.
Yeah, not just like online hype, but like real life people actually playing the game.
Yeah. I want to see the game being run in the wild, you know, and when I see it being run in the wild, then I'm like, all right, that game is something that could take off, you know, and you know, conventions I've seen, like there was a couple hundred sessions of Shadow Dark being run at Gen Con. You know, sure, it's not the 1100 that D&D 5e was, but that was through organized play. You know, so I think once you remove that, you're going to see that games like Shadow Dark or Castles and Crusades, or you know, some of these other ones that we mentioned, Hyperborea, I see a lot. Deadlands is all over the place. I mean, that's a big game.
That's good.
You know, and so, yeah. Paul, you wanted to?
Oh no, yeah. As far as organized play for Shadow Dark, Lurking Fears, I think Kelsey hooked up with them, and they've got a big group that runs stuff. They were organizing games for Free League at Gamehole, and then I think it was over at Gen Con. I saw they had. It was at the JW Weston. They had an enormous ballroom that they had like 30 tables in. They were running throughout all 4 days, just different stuff for whether it was Shadow Dark or whatever. So it's just getting involved with these independent groups that have good GMs that are handpicked and that know the rules of what they're running. And yeah, she hooked up with them, so they've got a lot. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of Shadow Dark, I think, especially like up through 2027, like you're saying.
Yeah,
cons for sure.
Yeah, I think that it's going to become, you know, I see it as becoming the number 2. I think it'll surpass Paizo. It'll surpass Pathfinder.
Probably.
It'll surpass Pathfinder organized play. And once it does that, it will be the clear number 2 out there.
Yeah.
And then it's only a matter of time as interest in 5e kind of wanes. Because not enough moved to 5.5. So as the interest of 5e wanes, because it's going to after, 10 plus years, they'll start moving over to other game systems.
Yeah. Yep. It's just like in music or anything these days, if you could have a bazillion followers on social media, but like who actually shows up to your shows? Like, the most important thing is what actively is happening in the real world, people actually engaging with it. I just want to say thank you, Richard, for having me, and thanks, Paul. It's a lot of fun hanging out with you guys, and thanks to everyone in the chat. I'm glad I got a chance to jump in. And
Yep. Thanks for both of you being on, and everyone in chat. Thanks for following, and I will see you next weekend. Sundays at 7:00. Every Sunday at 7:00, unless there's a holiday or something like that. So you all have a great one, and everyone take care.